right? So I'm gonna just do a little
Okay.
brief. I'm gonna just do a brief intro, and then
Okay.
hey, what's up, Knicks Universe, NBA fans all over. It's your man's Big Freezy. I'm joined by Nick G. Um, he's another Knicks fan. Chop it up occasionally to discuss um, everything Knicks. Let me see here. So I'm new to this YouTube live streaming, so just bear with me for a moment
Mm-hmm.
while I try to bring in Nick G. So all right. Hey Nick, do you want to introduce yourself, man, and talk to the fans while I try to figure this out?
What's up, Freeze? What's up, Knicks Universe? This is Nick G. Just a Knicks fan since like the early 2000s. Really became a fan more because I saw the potential of this team to rebuild. Now it's been 20 years, it feels like, since the rebuild started. And yeah, I just always been a fan of the city. I lived in Connecticut at one point in time. Always used to visit. I come from the Caribbean originally, and it became a love, especially because I loved Carmelo Anthony, and he became a Knick. I loved Phil Jackson. He became a Knick. Now, Phil Jackson was probably one of the worst, but I think Isaiah was probably worse than Phil. So, anyway, that's my intro. Let's go.
Word. So right now I am looking to share the screen so we can get you on. But so you from the Caribbean, man. What place in the Caribbean? Trinidad. Okay. All right. Yeah, I have man, listen, I don't know much about the Caribbean personally, but I have a lot of people and family from the Caribbean. My wife and I were just talking about recipes and stuff. Mom Dukes came down and cooked curry chicken.
Yeah,
Bruh.
yeah.
Hey, bro, I'm telling you. But let me see how to
My
figure.
curry chicken is wild, man. I make some good curry chicken, bro.
What?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was like a staple. I thought it was just, like, so, a little history about, or a little of my background. So, I don't have any, in terms of my blood, anybody from, say, other parts. And I say that respectfully. My family came out of.
I mean, same slave ship, bro. Same slave ship.
Well, yeah. But
I just got dropped off early.
Yeah. No doubt. But my peeps is from. They were slaves here in the Midlands and the Columbia area. They were slaves there at actually Fairfield County, and that's how I got my last name. My last name is Free, right? And people think I make that up, but what happens is my great whatever he was in the lineage just went by the name Jim. And so they were owned by the slave owners were last name Thompson, I think. And so when it came time for everybody, emancipation, and when he was free, he didn't want to take his slave owner last name. So when he would get stopped on the road, then people were like, "What's your name, boy?" And they'd be like, "Jim." They'd be like, "No, what's your name?" He would say he is Jim Free. So our last name came out of that. So I know that's wild, right? Wow. But that's
pretty cool.
That's a true story, man. So and cool. So yeah. So anyway, now that YouTube knows something about us, how about we share something about our team, right? So this summer was highly anticipated, not just by Knicks fans towards the end of the season, but going back maybe 2 years ago. We planned for the summer of 19, just basically trying to figure out how, what we were going to do in the summer of 19. So for a couple years, Knicks fans had been, dreaming of a KD, Kyrie, KD, Anthony Davis, Kyrie, KD, Kawhi type summer. We shed a lot of salary, we shed a lot of stuff in hopes of looking to basically do something this summer. So summer comes, we don't do anything. We don't get the number one pick, which we anticipated getting. Didn't get Zion like a lot of us wanted to. Didn't get KD, Kyrie, Kawhi, Jimmy Butler, Kemba Walker, Klay Thompson. Didn't get any of those guys. We got RJ Barrett. So with that said, what's your reaction to the way that everything transpired and where we are as a team? I know that's a lot of stuff in one question, and it'll seem like if you answer this, we may not be able to chop it up about more stuff, but this is like the tip of the iceberg for Knicks fans. So
my first initial reaction when KD said Brooklyn, it was one that I just said, okay. I was in shock to some degree. I knew it could happen, and there's potential that, there was a lot of potential that he would come to New York. Let's start with that, right?
Right.
My whole theme to answering one of your questions with it was relationships. And my answer has to be like, when you look at the landscape of like the way things went, like initial reaction aside, everyone that made a sign or went to a different team, or even, they had some type of relationship built in.
Right. So
it wasn't like you look at KD and Kyrie, that's their relationship. Then you look at from the front office side of things, like they talk about the Alibaba, and maybe some people don't know who Alibaba is, but that's the Amazon of the world. Like right now we're doing Amazon Prime, right?
Right.
And Amazon Prime makes like $6 to $8 billion a year.
Right.
But Alibaba is worldwide, so it makes somewhere between like 25 to 30 billion per year.
Right.
So they like 6 times. So that's the kind of money and alignment that KD put himself with. Right. And you think about James Dolan, he doesn't have those type relationships. It's just his company, Madison Square Garden, and that's it. Right. So when I saw that we signed Scott Perry dating back a couple of years ago, right, I thought we had a GM that had the relationships. We had DeAndre Jordan relationship. We had Keith Smart. All these guys that have relationships with these guys. But then when you look at the off the court relationship, didn't have that.
Right.
And I thought that they learned their lesson from LeBron, and then also from the Phil Jackson era, because Phil Jackson has more enemies than anyone else in front offices.
Right.
Because of his success and stuff. He didn't have relationships.
Right.
But then Scott Perry, he had some. So, that was the disappointment. That was really the stem of my disappointment.
And you know what, though, with the Phil Jackson thing, I kind of agree and disagree a tad bit. The thing with Phil Jackson is he had elitist relationships. Like at the end of the day, some of the relationships he had really didn't, like having a high level relationship with team owners really don't help you when you're looking to sign free agents, because these guys are basically contractors going from team to team. You know what I'm saying? And plus another team is not going to help you sign a guy away from them. You know what I'm saying? So in that case, it's like a worthless relationship. But I do agree in a sense that we probably should have been what's the word I'm looking for? We probably should have been more Basically, I agree with you. Basically, like I think we probably didn't have those relationships in place. Signing Scott Perry was probably what we were looking to do there. But then I saw something, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I saw something that said that KD never even talked to the Nets. He just announced that he was signing with them on Instagram.
Yeah.
That's odd, man. Yeah. To me, that's odd. To me, that has nothing to do with the Knicks. It has more.
Yeah, because he never talked to the Knicks either.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
He never talked to us, and like the relationship really was more about Kyrie and what Kyrie wanted to do. Looking at Kyrie's background, you know. So when you think about the idea that we were just gonna walk in, and this is the other thing that has to change with Knicks too. It's like we got to stop with this idea we're the Knicks.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like guys gonna sign with us because we're in New York. We're the Knicks. That's the stepsister, stepchild, etc. Because now two of the stepkids won this summer, right? The Brooklyn Nets,
right,
and then
the Clippers,
and then the Clippers,
right?
Because Kawhi was the biggest fish,
right?
If you ask me, if we had gotten a meeting with Kawhi Leonard, we were in just as much of a position to sign both Kawhi and also trade for
Paul George.
Right. If we had taken that meeting, right?
Right.
But at the same time, our talent from the beginning wasn't as good as Paul George relationship. You know, the package they gave up, because we have 2 Dallas picks. Our 2 Dallas picks, if you think about it, probably because of the Clipper trade now is more valuable today than it was a month ago.
Right.
Because we could just dive into that for a second. Like, dude, how many teams are stacked up at the top of the West before you even mention Dallas as a contending team? Yeah,
Dallas is probably 10th in the West right now, maybe 11th. You know what I mean? Because you can't.
I was gonna say about 8th, but you're right. They're about there.
Yeah, because Dallas didn't make the playoffs last year, and everybody in the West got better except Golden State.
Yep.
So now
everybody.
Now it's a situation where, you know, Denver's getting better because they're adding 2 first-round draft picks, the one they drafted this year and the one that kind of redshirted, Michael Porter Jr. from last year. He didn't play this past season. So now they have an infusion.
And they got
Jeremy Grant. Right. And to me, if you ask me, the reason why they lost in the playoffs is because they didn't have a lockdown wing defender. And I'm not going to say Jeremy Grant.
Now they got it.
Yeah, you're right. Now they have a guy that can actually defend it. Right. So the Dallas picks are going to be super valuable. Right. But my concern is, do you mess around and keep those picks for too long, like Danny Ainge did with the Celtics picks, all the Celtics draft picks? And then when you're forced to... go ahead, man.
When you get close to those, the closer you get to the picks, then you see the reality of it. Like right now, it's kind of hard to project out. Man, Dallas is going to be, you know, such and such. But during that season, like 2021 or 2020 season, you're going to say, well, yeah, those Dallas picks look good or start looking better. Because you can kind of project out, like, after this season, you're going to say, well, Dallas didn't make the playoffs again.
Right.
Maybe, you know. Porzingis' health is either good or bad.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like their free agent signings that they've made this year, you know, is it good or bad?
Right.
And then, you know, like look at where they stood out, you know, and then like the flattening of the odds even make it even better. Because let's say Dallas got the 12th position like the Lakers did this year, that got them the 4th pick.
Right.
So it's always a crapshoot and a gamble.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. I would say, you know, and if we can just if we can get back to the beginning of this whole thing, I was heartbroken that we didn't get the number 1 pick at the beginning of this process. Like, season's over. We know the team sucked and was young. You know what I mean? At least on May 14th, we'll get the thing that we've been waiting for 2 years. Wrong. So we could. So May 14th comes. The Lakers move all the way up to 4, which made me kind of nervous because usually, at least from my feeling is when one team makes a huge jump, other teams usually make huge jumps too. Because when a team makes a huge jump, generally that means somebody made a huge slide the other way, and it wound up being both Phoenix and Cleveland and Chicago, as a matter of fact. And so
that could have been us.
That could have been. But at the same time, I was nervous that that New Orleans was going to get the number 1 pick because I have this thing like every time a franchise loses a star and struggles, the league gives them the number 1 pick. And I know that's my conspiracy theory and all that stuff, but so LeBron left Cleveland in 2010, 2011, they get the number 1 pick and select Kyrie Irving, right?
Yeah.
And I know people are like, that's just a coincidence. Well, not only did they get the number 1 pick in 2011, they got it in 12 and 14. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so now you're like, man, what's going on? They're trying to help this team, stay stable because they literally drafted Kyrie Irving, Andrew Wiggins, and then the bust Anthony Bennett. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, and so now it looks like, as soon as I saw the Pelicans still on the board, I knew they were going to get the number 1 pick. It's like as soon as they called the Knicks name, the commissioner just hurried up and said, the Knicks pick 3, Memphis, New Orleans. Yay, let's get out of here. Because he knew the conspiracy theory was going to start there. It's like you lose Anthony Davis, you know what I mean? Or you're about to lose Anthony Davis. What can we do to help this franchise get a star player? But the ball's never bounced that way for the Knicks. The Knicks have been in the lottery for a long time. And I say this on Twitter a lot, and I think Knicks fans kind of bash me for it. But truth is truth. So over the last 5 years, the Knicks have a 33 basically a 33 win 33% win percentage, if I can say that correctly, over the last 5 years. If anybody needed the number 1 pick, it's the Knicks, Yeah. But people don't see it that way because the Knicks have the most valuable franchise in terms of dollar amount, Yeah. But going back to May 14th, I think that's a day that we'll remember for a long time because it's the day that we knew that things don't as a Knicks fan, things don't necessarily bounce your way as a Knicks fan. If you're a Knicks fan, prepare yourself for a lot of bad things to happen to you as a fan.
Yeah.
It's tough being a Knicks fan to hear that, right?
No, because I don't view that day as being an infamy. Like I just felt like it was just truth being told.
Right.
Like the idea, and this is the thing. Like, okay, let's say last year. Let's use that for example. The year we got Ntilikina. Sorry.
Right.
Let's say we had tanked that season fully, like just hard-nosed tank that season.
Right.
As soon as Porzingis hurt, I mean Porzingis got hurt. He had got us to 22 and 22, I think it was, or 22 and 20. And to me, if you had like just tanked that season hard or as hard as you could, we would have been in the running to probably get Luka Doncic, somebody that he wanted to play with.
Right.
I think I've been telling people for the longest, like Luka is a generational talent. He's a white James Harden,
right?
With more IQ. Porzingis wanted him, so then, and he went 3 or no? He got traded,
5.
so he was around.
He went 5.
Went 5,
but he was drafted 5 by Atlanta and was traded to Dallas for Trae Young.
The third pick.
Yeah, I think that's how it went.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
You're right.
But like when you think about it, like this guy was, so technically he's the 3rd overall pick. Let's put it to you.
Right.
Let's use that. Jordan been drafted 3. A number of guys have been drafted at 3. So from the time I knew the draft was like a crapshoot anyway. So from the time the draft happened, as long as we didn't drop out the top 5, just like Atlanta and all these other teams that really tanked the season,
right? Just
like we did. I mean, what more can you ask for? And while I say I think Zion is incredible and he has incredible potential. There's risk with Zion too, just as much risk as there was with RJ Barrett. This was the draft that you didn't really have to tank for. It was last year's draft, and then the draft before that. Like those were guys that if you tanked because the odds weren't flattened at the time, you could have gotten more talent for the number 1 pick. Right. Like I wanted Jaren Jackson. Right. That was another incredible player. We would have been Porzingis who with Jaren Jackson around. Right. You know?
Right, yeah.
So that's just what. I'm listening.
Yeah. So I understand where you come from with that too, and so to me, it may not be disappointing, for so it may not be trying to get this message off the screen, but all right. So, but anyway, so it may not be the apocalypse like a lot of us thought it was, right? But it sure was a huge disappointment, not only for me, but for a lot of Knicks fans. So I see the Knicks fans all over YouTube, like, oh man, the Knicks can't do anything right. And it's basically one of those things where it's like, that's a draft lottery. The Knicks had nothing to do with it. All they did was show up.
Absolutely.
So you go from that to coming to the realization that you won't get Zion or Ja Morant. I, for one, was an RJ Barrett fan from Go. About a year and a half ago, I was on Twitter saying tank for RJ Barrett. And I got grilled on Twitter because people were like, that's cool, Freezy. And I know, you be on here a lot. I know you're a true Knicks fan, but who the hell is RJ Barrett? You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those, but at the same time, nobody knew who Zion was and nobody knew who Ja Morant was either, Yeah. And people called this draft, a bust, void of stars and all that stuff. And while that's yet to be seen, it was basically the dialogue about this draft. When you fast forward to today, now you realize that no draft is going to be void of stars because the media always pushes some guy to make them interested so they'll have something to talk about for during the year. I thought that the media did overtime. I did a lot of work on creating a star. But so we move on from May 14th to the draft, and in between May 14th and June 20th, all we talked about really was how RJ Barrett wanted to be in New York, wanted to be a Knick, and it's one of those things. It was exciting for Knicks fans to hear that with all these things going on, and when free agents are turning you down every year, to hear a kid say, "Hey, no, forget about them. I want to be here." It was refreshing to hear. So what did you think about the RJ Barrett selection?
So, and I was just watching the last summer league game, and RJ kind of took over that last minute and something. And it was crunch time minutes. He really hadn't been playing that well, but all in all, I see the potential. Right. Just like you, I knew about RJ Barrett years ago, like 2 years ago, because and we talked about this personally, but I listened to the Stepien. Right. The Stepien, they dissect draft picks or draft years 2 years in advance. They already started on this draft coming last year. And this upcoming year, 2020, is what, it's like a reset year. We're going to have talent and stars coming out this next draft, and also 2021. Right. Which is key. I believe RJ, at minimum, would be a good role player. I always thought that. Right. he could get to the basket. I was telling this to Sim just a minute ago. He could get to the basket.
Shout out to Sim with Nothing But Knicks too. What's up, Sim? I got to shout out my guy. Sim? Yeah, I got to shout out my guy, man. Yeah. I'm sorry for interrupting.
It's just like you have guys that, well, this guy can get to the rim without being like the fastest athlete. He jumps high enough. He's not like the highest jumper like Zion.
Right.
And then he also has a mentality that he just doesn't like losing.
Right.
And that was one thing that I felt like, even if we were to get Kyrie and KD and stuff like that, that fiery personality would mesh well with those guys, because those two guys, like KD is kind of quiet.
Right.
He's kind of coming in his zone now, but he is like in OKC, he was quiet.
He's a sniper. And, he's a sniper. He'll admit it. He don't have to be up front, doing all the firing and all that stuff. The dude is the laid back guy. Yeah. That's not him. That was Russ in OKC, But I understand your point. And the thing I like about RJ Barrett is this. So I heard this story told from like 3 different resources. I don't want to share them on this, taping or viewing or whatever. Just because, whatever. But so I watched 3 different YouTube videos about RJ Barrett and Mount Verde playing against Chino Hills and Lonzo Ball. Right. So watching it. So I saw clips of the game, but I didn't see the entire game. But what happened is Chino Hills was running away with the game. And the coach finally lets RJ Barrett into the game to play significant minutes. And RJ Barrett brings Mount Verde all the way back, and they take the lead, right? The lead gets away from them, and they're down by 2 points. And RJ Barrett is sent to the line to hit 2 free throws to send the game to overtime. So the thing is, so he goes to the line and he makes the first, right? Comes back to the line, he misses the second and starts crying. You can look at the free throw line, he missed it. The game was still like 2 seconds. That in the game, you're trying to scramble and foul somebody or whatever. And so the dude breaks down at the end of the game. This dude is 14 years old, playing against the number 2 pick in the NBA lottery. I mean, in the NBA draft, Lonzo Ball, right? And LaMelo Ball, as a matter of fact. I think LaMelo was an 8th grader or something. I can't remember. But it was Lonzo, LaMelo, and LiAngelo all on the team. And Chino Hills was the number 1 ranked team in the country. And Mount Verde was, I think, number 2 or whatever. So the dude scores like 25 points in the second half and brings Mount Verde all the way back and misses a free throw to lose the game. And you could see the look on his face, like he was devastated, like it was, like a death in the family or something. You know what I mean? And the reason why it touched me some is because people that live in the moment know when a moment escapes them. You know what I mean? Like if you're in that moment, you'll never get that same exact moment ever again. And if you didn't do the right thing, you kind of live to regret it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's one of those. And so people say I over dramatize it, or dramatize it overly or whatever, however you want to say it. But the guys that put the YouTube videos up felt the same thing I felt when I watched it. You know what I'm saying? And so it's one of those deals where, this guy wanted to win so bad that he literally, broke down at the end of the game, because he knows he was the one that let his team down. But what he didn't realize is his team was getting the brakes beat off them before he stepped up. And so he scores 25 points in the second half, or 26 points if you count the free throw, in the second half to bring the team all the way back. But he didn't think about the 25 points. He thought about, man, I let my team down. We didn't win this game. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that fire is what led to him having, mega matchups against other the Colin Sexton game. So they played. So R.J. Barrett, Mount Verde plays Colin Sexton's team. And for those that don't know, Colin Sexton was a lottery pick by the Cleveland Cavaliers last season, right? So Colin Sexton's team is bulldozing everybody in the country, until they get to R.J. Barrett. The Mount Verde is a favorite, and R.J. Barrett comes out like a drum major. He knows this team is inferior, and so instead of letting them even get into the game, he dominates from go. I think he scores like 40 points on Colin Sexton's team, and not only that, he guards Colin Sexton, switches with the point guard, and guards the guy so he won't go off for a whole bunch of points. And just to further that, so he played against Kevin Knox in high school, right? So Kevin Knox, what people don't know, people say, oh, he's slow and stiff, he can't move, and all these criticisms of Kevin Knox. But Kevin Knox is the all-time leading scorer in basketball points for the state of Florida. So people don't know that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So and then he started playing. Now it's not like he had a head start. He didn't play high school ball in 8th grade. He only had 4 years of high school ball. You know what I'm saying? So the kid is like, scoring. I mean, Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady are from Florida.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when you think about guys that played high school ball in the state of Florida, and then you have Kevin Knox, you're like, I don't know. But not only did R.J. Barrett defeat Kevin Knox's team, he shut down Kevin Knox. I think Kevin Knox had 25 points. And people say, well, 25 points, that's a lot of points. In high school, when you're the man, 25 points is not really, you know what I'm saying? And not only did he, right. When the guy is scoring like 50 points on some teams, but R.J. Barrett not only shut him down, he dunked on him twice. So he dunked on Kevin Knox twice. That's why when MSG asked, like, how do you know Kevin Knox? Well, they played against each other in high school, and Kevin and R.J. Barrett dunked on him twice. And so it's the same thing with other lottery picks like Cam Reddish, who played with him at Duke. People think Cam Reddish should be a better pro, but Cam Reddish defended R.J. Barrett in high school, and Cam Reddish scored 9 points with R.J. Barrett guarding him, and R.J. Barrett scored 38 points with Cam Reddish guarding him. So it's one of those deals where this dude has such a pedigree where, if you don't do your research, all you look at is what he did at Duke. The dude scored 860 points as a freshman at Duke. And that's unheard of. You never hear about somebody dominating as a freshman like that. But so I say all that to say this. So the draft comes as we're leading up to draft day, and all you really hear is, this is Zion's draft. Ja Morant is going to be as good as our Russell Westbrook, and then there's R.J. Barrett. What do you make of him? So,
you know what? And even with that, like, let's say RJ was on a different team from Zion, like, he would have gotten a lot more praise. Right. Let's say he went to Kentucky, he probably would have gotten a ton more praise than he did. And I mean, the thing about RJ is his shot selection.
Right.
That's something he's got to learn.
Right.
The Mamba mentality, I particularly don't like to hear that word tossed around, but at the same time, he has that attitude like, I got to take over, I got to do this. Right. Kevin Knox is not like that. Kevin Knox is like, I'll go with the flow of the team.
Right.
It's more of a football. He comes from a football background where he feels like bring everyone together, huddle, and then when we go out, we each do our part and job, and we'll score.
Right.
As long as the blockers block, the shooters shoot. Or the passer pass, which is he was a quarterback.
Right.
The people on the wing, the wide receivers, as long as they run to the rim, they get the ball, we score. Running backs run the ball.
Right.
he thinks in that kind of standpoint, like as long as everyone does their job, we're gonna score.
Right.
RJ Barrett, his dad was his trainer, and his dad played at the era of Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan.
Right.
So that's the basis of where he's building his game off of. Guys that like to take over the game and do it by themselves usually. But, and then also who's to say he doesn't idolize LeBron? I mean, LeBron does it all, pretty much.
Right.
All. I would like him to find his niche, but I was looking at the game tonight. He played his best. He did some great point guard skills tonight by comparison to what he usually does.
Right.
So he has skills. It's just Twitter.
So what's the line?
Twitter.
So what's the line for RJ Barrett tonight?
I don't know. He scored 10. I mean, he got 10 rebounds again for the third game, I believe.
Wow.
If I'm not mistaken. So he mixes it up in the middle. I'll get the stat line for you, but he all in all, it just matters on like what position you could put him in.
Right.
And he's gonna find ways, and he's gonna have a great stat line every night, pretty much.
Right.
We try to find the stat line for you.
And so why you do that? So so here's the other thing about the Maple Mamba, the Mamba mentality. It's one of those people hate to hear that nowadays because it's one of those things. And I'm not saying you per se. I'm just saying in general because I get pushback from Twitter about the Mamba mentality. But people hate to hear that because I think nowadays people are worn out by comparisons to legends or greats that are gone by. Everybody. It's like everybody that's 6'6" from a 6'6" shooting guard that's super athletic is going to be compared to Jordan. You know what I mean? And so every basically every point guard that's going to be a 3-point shooting point guard that can pass with both hands and with deep range is going to be scored compared to Steph Curry. You know what I mean? So it's one of those where people are like, man, I'm tired of people always comparing these guys. Why don't y'all let them be? Well, in this case, where you see like a carbon copy, where you see like people cut from the same type cloth, it's one of those deals where, you got to do the comparison because it's only fair to the conversation. Conversation is what matters because you and I have no impact on what the Knicks will do. But we talk about the Knicks. We love the Knicks. So in our conversations about the Knicks, it's only fair to bring up guys that draw comparisons to players that have passed by. So I think the kid is Kobe 2.0. The only difference between Kobe and RJ at this point is, and I know this is going to draw a lot of ire from people that love Kobe. I think the only difference is right now, Kobe had more impactful passes. You know what I'm saying? So Kobe was more of a facilitator than a rebounder than RJ Barrett. But I think they're the same time.
Early on?
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that Kobe was a passer. I'm not saying that. I'm saying when he did pass, it was more impactful. You know what I'm saying? Like when Kobe, so Kobe would pass the ball on offense maybe 20 times a game, right? And that sounds like a lot. But when you talk about 4 quarters, that's like 5 passes per quarter. That's not a lot. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, but when you think about it, man, Kobe's passes were like, I'm only passing to somebody that I know has a better shot than I do. But when you have the Mamba mentality, nobody has a better shot than I do, basically. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that Kobe was John Stockton. I'm saying when he gave the ball up, he usually gave it up to somebody that was wide open, can't miss, like a lob to Shaq, a kick out to Rick Fox in the corner for 3. You know what I'm saying? A kick out to Robert Horry at the top of the key for a 3. guys that were in their spot, and that shot was in their bag. You know what I'm saying? Kobe wasn't going to randomly give up the ball to Chris Mims. You know what I'm saying? But with RJ is hands down probably the best rebounding guard we had on the roster in a long time. Right?
A long time.
Right.
Long time.
Right. But the passing, I think, will come, and the shots will come. The shots going down will come. It just takes some time, in my opinion.
So let me read you the stat line for tonight. 17 points off of 6 for 14 shooting. So he shot 42.9%.
Right.
10 rebounds, all defensive rebounds. 6 assists.
Bruh, would you take that?
I'll take that any night of the week.
Right.
He had 1 turnover tonight.
Right. Which
previous games he had 8 turnovers.
Right. So that's the disturbing thing. So I'm a RJ Barrett apologist and homer, and I know it's hard to be both at the same time. So here's the thing.
Okay.
With the thing that disturbed me the most were the turnovers, because turning the ball over makes you look. So you can go to the basket, and a defender can flash from out of nowhere, and you have to adjust your shot. It happens. Michael Jordan was going to dunk on Worthy. AC Green flash, he switched it to the other hand and laid it up. You know what I'm saying? It happens. Yep. You know what I'm saying? But turnovers can come from being lazy passes, not reading the defense, not knowing the playbook. I mean, it can come from a lot of different things. And so when you have a high number of turnovers, you're like, wait a minute, what's this dude doing? This dude looks lost. Yeah. And so in the Phoenix game with 8 turnovers, you're like, is he lazy? Does he know the plays? You know what I'm saying? Does he read the defense?
And you know what's funny? Like when guys would say that to judge RJ or to judge anyone, like you got to put it in the context. This is Summer League. This is game 3. The 2 games before that, could he be nervous? Could he be just like realizing they're guys just as fast as I am? A lot of the guys that they're gonna play or they played so far from Phoenix and from New Orleans and stuff like that. Some of those guys been in the G League for years, right? And they have more NBA polish, but haven't made an NBA roster or have played college basketball for like 2-3 years. And some guys are late bloomers. Like when you draft anyone, you gotta stamp the clock. Usually, like. The one thing I hate about the media is they make it seem like everyone's going to be an outstanding basketball player day one. Everybody's going to be LeBron.
Right.
25-5 first game.
Right.
But when you think about the average NBA player, Kawhi Leonard, it took 4 years for him to hit.
Right.
Paul George was behind the depth chart he was behind Danny Green.
Behind Danny Granger.
Not Danny Green, Danny Granger.
Right. And Paul Millsap.
I think you just went.
Right.
Yeah.
Wasn't not Paul Millsap. I'm sorry, David West. David West is who we I think their starters were.
You talking about David Lee?
No, Paul Millsap. I mean, God, David West. It was their front court was Granger, West,
David
and
West.
Yeah. So with all that said, what do you think about?
And when you gotta like put that in. Like Kobe wasn't good the first year. It took Kobe 3 years before he actually started to become what we know as Kobe.
And you know what Kobe was? Then you know what Kobe was early on? When Del Harris tried to move him to point guard because he could facilitate, the dude didn't want to play point guard, man. He wanted to shoot the rock. Del Harris, who was a very good NBA coach, a very good offensive-minded coach, said, "Hey, Kobe, listen, with your size and agility and mobility, man, you could be one of the greatest point guards to ever play the game." But Kobe didn't want to shoot. I mean, didn't want to pass. Kobe wanted to. Michael Jordan was his idol, right? Michael Jordan was his idol, and the dude just flat out wanted to be Michael Jordan-esque. And you saw it early on in Kobe, the way he walked, the way he talked, the way he chewed gum, All of that stuff was like he wanted to be Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And so the thing is there's only one Michael Jordan. But at the same time, you know, you have this Canadian kid coming up, you know, has this Mamba mentality, does Kobe's Euros to the basket, you know, wants to lead a franchise. All these things that you saw from Kobe, our guy RJ is wanting to do those same things. But as Knicks fans, what happens is in Los Angeles, California, you can do those type things without the media grinding you. I mean, what do you, as a Lakers fan, you worried about Bill Plaschke? This dude, you know, that's just one media guy. In New York, they
got media out there in LA too, though. I'm not gonna. LA got their media too. It's rough out there too, but it's not as rough as New York.
Right. That's my point. My point is the media is more neutral than they are grinders. You know what I'm saying? Whereas say like in Atlanta, Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia, the media is more of a safe haven for athletes. You know what I'm saying? You can go to the media and feel safe with media. In New York City, no, you can't. You know, you're not gonna feel safe. The media is looking for the first opportunity, the first chink in your armor to do what they can, you know, to grind you up. I mean, even people think Reggie Jackson played for the Yankees for 10 years. He played for the Yankees like 4 or 5 years. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I mean, it's just one of those. But anyway,
that's the thing too. Like once you gain the media love here in New York, I should say, like once you get the love, it really don't go away.
Right.
Like Derek Jeter is the only one that truly ever got away. I would say Reggie Jackson did too. A lot of baseball players, to be honest, get more love, but as long as you win that championship, they'll love you forever.
Right.
That's the main thing.
Right.
Right. And yeah, like I think RJ will be fine. I don't think we have anything to worry about with RJ because he shows the thing that I like about these last 2 drafts from Scott Berry. We got guys that work hard, know who and what they are,
right? And
Kevin Knox last year, I love how Kevin Knox is playing this summer league,
right?
And I love his potential going forward. But Kevin Knox, from day one, he knew ball handling. At the end of the season, he knew defense was something that he has to work on.
Right.
And also his body. Like, he has to get stronger. And he, so far, at the beginning of Summer League, I could say all 3 things, I see something improve in him.
Strength for one.
Same thing for RJ.
Yep, strength for one with Knox. So with Knox, definitely strength. Yeah. I'm not saying he's Hercules, but he's definitely stronger than he was, right? Even if it's incremental.
Yeah. You can tell his shoulders. It's in his shoulders. Right. You can tell.
Right, and he's got hair on his chin. He didn't have. But anyways. So the thing with Knox though, and I like to get your take on it. With us jumping, out of order and stuff, I wanted to kind of get to like the 2019 draft and kind of work backwards from there. But whatever. So the thing is with Knox is a lot of Knicks fans believe he's a power forward in the making, right? I think Kevin Knox is a playmaking wing with the potential to be a 25-5 guy. You know what I'm saying? Now with that said, am I saying he's gonna be is he going to be a Westbrook type scorer, or is he going to be a Rudy Gay type scorer? And what I mean by that is he going to stay somewhere between 17 and 22 points per night, or is he going to be 14, 47, 13, 51? It all by the end of the year, it'll average out to be 20, but it's not a dependable 20. You know what I'm saying? Is he like is he like a Kevin Durant type scorer where it's going to be somewhere between 26 and 33 a night? Or is it a Klay Thompson where it's going to be like 16 one night because he has to guard, Jimmy Butler and then the next night he has to guard Damian Dotson, so he scores off for 50. You know what I'm saying? Is he going to be that type scorer? My honest opinion is I think he's a cap scorer. I don't see Kevin Knox as being going off one night for 55. I just don't see that. Alonzo Trier, on the other hand, I could see scoring 6 one night and 27 the next night. You know what I mean? But in terms of Knox, I think Knox is going to be a 20-point guy, probably somewhere. I think his efficiency will grow along with his body. You know what I'm saying? Because for one, what people don't realize is they say all Kevin Knox did was touch the ball in the corner and drive to the basket with his right hand and crash into a bunch of people, throw up a floater. I hear a lot of that, right? But I think Kevin Knox will probably be a more polished guy once he physically matures. Also, David Fizdale did not run a system last year, so knowing where players were going to be as something you have to kind of say, when you don't know what guys are going to be, you can't anticipate what to do on passes. So you throw passes late, and by that time, either the defender is there or the ball is picked off. So you can't blame the player for not having an offensive system. Something that you kind of been in for a couple of years, and then it's been like, I know the system like the back of my hand type of thing.
And just like by the offensive system, I don't know how you saw it, but for me, it's not necessarily that Fizdale didn't have a specific offense that he ran, because I don't really feel like anyone has too much of an offensive system. I feel like everybody you got to realize that for Fizdale, he has a principle that he's working off of, right. Drive and kick offense. Most of last year, what I saw was a lot of experimentation.
Right.
So he would, for DeAndre Jordan, he had a 20-20 game. When I looked at that game, and I watched it probably twice, and I saw DeAndre Jordan pretty much in the triangle offense the whole game.
Right.
I looked at what's his name, DSJ, and he had a 31-point game, and it was pretty much the same type of offense that James Harden is in.
Right.
Top of the key.
ISO, pick and roll. Yeah. So
ISO, pick and roll. Make a play and make something happen. And DSJ could very well, but then when you look at it, I saw, what's his name, Damian Dotson, in certain situations where it's either like a Princeton hybrid, triangle hybrid off-ball movement stuff where a lot of behind-the-back baseline cuts. What's his name, Damian Dotson, he looked well. He made really good reads. Same thing with Hazonia. Then Hazonia played point. Who would have thought he would excel in that kind of position?
Right.
Shout out to him, but it's just like he experimented, so it wasn't anything that anyone is getting specific, and it was really like a stat guy's dream. Like when you start putting the statistics and you start looking at it, like statistically, this guy, he works best in this offense because I've played with him in this offense, say 10 times in a month, went to a different office and played 10 times in a different offense, and then you could just break down each guy's offense. And the thing about Fizdale is he comes from a statistical background where that is what led Eric Spoelstra to becoming a great coach. Because Eric Spoelstra doesn't have a specific system.
Right.
I have a podcast, and I actually time-stamped it from Locked On NBA. They broke down Eric Spoelstra's offense. He doesn't have one.
Right.
The thing is, he just takes place that guys have ran in other places.
And
like
we're successful
Waiters.
with, right.
They went back to high school tape and said, okay, you ran this particular play or offense very well. This is our personnel that fits that play. We'll run that play for you with the personnel that we have.
Right.
And it worked. And Deion Waiters had a great year and got a big contract because of it.
Right.
And that's just the way Fizdale is. But then when you look at it, most of Miami guys are pros for years. They're vets. They don't do rookies.
Right.
Fizdale didn't do well with rookies. So now you gotta, like, he's trying to motivate guys like Frank and Knox and stuff like that, and like go to practices and fly to Latvia and deal with the media and stuff like that. That's exhausting. So this year he's got a ton of pros,
right,
a ton of vets to at least work around these young guys. So when you put them on a bench, it makes them feel something, because that vet may come in and truly take your spot. So now Fizdale has a ton of data to work with, and a ton of plays and a ton of experience with the young guys. A lot of them loved what he did for them last year.
Right.
It's the best coaching they had. Dennis Smith didn't even have a meal plan. Like, Fizdale was like, look, you need to eat better. And that way you could play 3 to 5 nights in a row and not be exhausted like you are.
Right, not have a drop off.
One good game and one bad one.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, and even with Frank, like, a lot of people like to say Frank is a triangle point guard. I think I talked to you about this. Break Frank tape down. He does not make triangle reads. Damian Dotson did,
right,
but Frank didn't. So you look at Frank, and you put Frank in the pick and roll. Break down Frank's earlier tape in his French days. Like, pick and roll was his bread and butter in France. That's what made people say that he would be a top 10 lottery pick. Put him in the pick and roll. His pro games in Strasbourg, he didn't play any pick and roll with what's Phil's crony, Hornacek. Hornacek didn't really put Frank in much pick and roll, not enough.
right.
So, I see where Fizdale could actually help each and every one, but it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time to break these guys down and build them back into what we need them to be.
For one, first and foremost, the triangle in 2016, 2015, 2016, whatever year. Anyway, this millennium is trash. The triangle, and people can say what they want to say, but the triangle only worked with Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. You know what I'm saying? You take the triangle to other places, it does not work with superior athletes. These athletes.
I disagree with you.
I
strongly disagree with you.
Because
why would Derrick Rose succeed in the triangle offense?
Because all he did was catch it and drive to the basket.
What did Michael Jordan do?
Michael Jordan operated out of the triple post, man. When he got that's
the triangle.
I know that. I know that's a triangle. But what I'm saying is Jordan operating out of the triple post is different than D Rose operating out of the triple post, right? D Rose is a catch the ball, go to the bat penetrator. Derrick Rose wasn't going to shoot threes. He wasn't a jump shooter. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't a passer. So, I mean, and it's not like we feel like Derrick Rose had the highest basketball IQ ever. D Rose was I'm more athletic than you guy, and I'm going to put my athleticism up against yours every night type of dude. And I simplify it, right? But not many dudes could stick with D Rose athletically. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So with D Rose in New York in the triangle, he breaks to the basket. Porzingis is wide open. He doesn't even look to pass to Porzingis. You know what I'm saying? And so it was even a thing on Twitter. Like, how many times is Derrick Rose gonna pass to Porzingis tonight? And some nights it would be as low as like 2 for a point guard to freeze out the rookie. You know what I'm saying? Is crazy. But to read, the reason why I say it's outdated is because in the post, triple post, you can only make, you have multiple reads based on multiple cuts and stuff. But at the end of the day, you know where the ball is going. You know what I'm saying? You know, as long as you have a Carmelo Anthony and a Porzingis on the floor, if Carmelo has the ball, he's going to pass it. You basically know it's going to Porzingis, no matter where Porzingis is on the floor. It's predictable. It's the reason why we couldn't score 100 points in the game. You know, I mean, in my opinion, if you want to look at, at offenses and such, I think the offense that teams should look at is the Golden State model, where it's not just about two guys in a triple post set, two guys running around, and instead of having the ball in the post, you move the ball around the perimeter. So it's not the inverted triangle. What they generally run is 1-4 out. So you have 4 ball handlers, shooters, passers, and 1 big, right? And generally, what the big does, instead of set a screen on the ball, he sets back screens where the shooter can come around him and catch the ball to shoot. And so there's a difference. And I know you already know all this stuff. I'm talking to the Twitterverse that may not understand offenses and such. So instead of on-ball screens, you back screen, and sometimes double back screen, where a defender has to go through a Bogut and a Draymond Green just to keep up with a Klay Thompson. By the time Klay gets the ball, all he needs is that split second to get his shot off. You know what I'm saying? And that's why
that's a play now, screen, whether it be a back screen on the big man or whatever. Like, that was a play, and I have to get the videotape for you to see it, that the Knicks missed a lot last year. And it was just inexperience, because you have to be experienced to make the correct reads. The triangle offense, I get what you're saying about it. The reason why I say yes, the triangle to a degree is outdated, because you don't have illegal defense anymore. Right. So the idea of going triple post at the top of the key, right, or on the side of the key, I should say, that was always, per Phil Jackson, the most dangerous spot you could put someone in, because they are one dribble away from the basket, especially the really athletic ones. Right. But I tend to disagree with you about the triangle offense not being successful, because I look at Jokic. Yeah. Jokic, there are a lot of times that I see him running triangle or in the triangle, and he just makes the simplest read, and it's just a dump off pass. Right. Catch the ball in triple post, turn around, the guard who dumps the ball off to you, makes the cut, and pulls the defender down, and it's just simple dump off pass. He makes that read all the time.
He led the NBA in passes. Did you know he led the NBA in passes per game? Jokic, the center from Denver, averaged 72.8 passes per game in 4 quarters of basketball, right? And so, go ahead, man.
But you got to ask yourself, from a triangle standpoint, how many American-born players are actually giving up the ball like that?
None. You're talking about passing the ball almost 20 times a quarter. You know what I'm saying? Hey, NBA players, American-born players don't do that, man. That's just not the way we play nowadays. You know what I'm saying? But at this, well, why you say the triangle may not be, but the thing is, you have to take into account too is, so now there's a 5-second back down rule. You know what I'm saying? Where if you have the ball in the post, you can only have your back to the basket 5 seconds without passing the ball or shooting or something. And that's like some kind of weird rule that rarely gets called. But what happened is they invented that rule because cats like Charles Barkley with the Phoenix Suns would take the ball down in the post and dribble down there for 20 seconds and not do anything. You know what I'm saying? And nobody wanted to watch that. Who wants to watch 20 seconds of Charles Barkley fat behind in the post? You know what I'm saying? I mean, but the other thing I dislike about the triangle is you take cats' athletic ability away and turn them into Einstein type cats. Now, and I know that sounds weird, but that's my way of explaining it. You take away cats' run, jump, natural instinct to be athletic and turn them into thinkers. Like, okay, I'm on the opposite wing. He's got the ball on the free throw line extended. What do I do if the defense does this? It's just too much to think about, man. In my opinion, aside from boxing, I think basketball is the thing that takes advantage of your athletic gifts the most. There may be another sport, and I may be wrong, but basketball is run and jump. You know what I'm saying? That's basically, running. You either running or you're jumping or you're setting screens or something like that. And I'm in favor of use the assets that you got. So if you have a lot of athletes, I say let them use their athleticism, as opposed to if RJ Barrett catches the ball on this block and the defense is doing such and such, man, what do I do now? You know what I mean? I say, either ISO, blow by a guy, defense collapses, you kick to the open guy, or same thing in a pick and roll or screen and roll, or whatever you want to call it. So.
But okay, so let me ask you this then, Mike D'Antoni, and you look at the way he runs offense for the Rockets. Do you think that's any better offense than per se?
No, that's the worst offense since that Charles Barkley offense. The only thing about it is instead of one guy being 10 foot away from the basket with his fat behind posted up, you have a dude 30 feet away from the basket, ISOing one guy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Trying to see where the help defense is going to come from. I mean, it's not like James Harden shot an exceptional mark from three. I think he shot like 38% from three. You know what I'm saying? But when you do it at such high volume, it has the impact of a guy that shoots 45%. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I don't like D'Antoni's Houston offense. I like D'Antoni's Phoenix Suns offense. You know what I'm saying? Where you get the most athletic guys that can convert at the basket if they catch the ball in the right spot. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a time I think Phoenix had Joe Johnson, Amari Stoudemire, Sean Marion, and I forget who the center was. But when they took the center off the floor and brought in Barbosa, when they took their center off the floor and brought in Barbosa, you couldn't guard the Suns, man. You couldn't guard them because Amari catching the ball in the paint would dunk on anybody. Sean Marion catching the ball in the paint would dunk on anybody. Barbosa could convert at the basket. And Steve Nash would just dribble around until he found a passing lane to a guy that was cutting to the basket, and you couldn't stop it. You could say it's like you knew what was going to happen within 24 seconds, and you tried to stop it. But Phoenix varied it so much that when you double teamed Amari, Sean Marion would dunk like 3 straight times. And now you're like, well, we can't let Sean Marion dunk on us all night. And so it's like now you have Barbosa. Now you have, Amari. But anyways, I said all that comparing offenses to talk about what Fizz did. If I had to grade what he did offensively this past year, I give him F's across the board. And the reason why I say that is because out of timeouts, some kind of dead ball situation, out of timeouts when he had the whiteboard, he was terrible. And to me, the gold standard for the whiteboard situation is the Celtics coach. What's his name? Brad Stevens.
Brad Stevens, yeah.
Right. So the difference between Jason Tatum and Kevin Knox is coming out of timeouts. Huh?
I was saying Brad Stevens.
Oh, Brad Stevens. Yeah, basically, because the coach gets the whiteboard about what 5 times a quarter, basically, something like that. It's not a large number, but so you get Brad Stevens drawing up plays for Jason Tatum to get bunnies, right? And Fizdale is drawing up plays, and Knox is basically not even getting open looks. The defense knows what he's going to do out of the timeout. And so now you like, you can't, if a coach can't get their best player bunnies during the game, what do you need to coach for? Just to manage personnel? You know what I mean?
So, okay, let me ask you this. Do you attribute that to anything to do with one, tanking the season, two, propping up or focusing on other guys to trade them?
So I think that both kind of come into play, right? Building up value so you can trade them. Yeah. After the trade deadline had come and gone, why didn't we, after the trade deadline come and gone, why didn't he improve on the whiteboard? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
and then
so my counter to that is when I looked at the team, to me going into the season, it was supposed to be Frank versus
Moutier. I mean Trey Burke.
Moutier, right?
Trey Burke.
Even Trey Burke or Moutier. It doesn't matter which one. Like
right.
Either one of them, to some degree, like neither one, because you're talking about a drive-in kick offense. Right. To me, Frank was the best passer last year.
Right.
At the point guard position, but he did not take shots. So it made the defense then defend 5 against 4.
Right.
So when someone, because remember, drive-in kick, the idea is to get the ball somewhere else after breaking down the defense, move out the way as soon as you get to the rim. After you kick the ball out, that person then tries to drive to the rim also and then kick it out again, and you just have the defense scampering. But you have to be athletic enough, one. You have to read your guy and break your guy down. Trey Burke wasn't breaking down guys.
Right.
Not often. He was doing mid-range jumpers. That's his game, mid-range.
Right.
Just you break somebody down, mid-range jumper, but no pass out.
Right.
Emmanuel Moutier was the same thing. He did not get the ball to the corners at all. Like we were very poor with corner threes. But when DSJ got here, he got to the rim and made more passes in 1 month to the corner 3 than Moutier done all season to that point.
Right.
And I felt like, okay, DSJ with Fizdale would be very dynamic because it's his type of point guard who could break down the defense. He's aggressive, and also he could read the lanes to make that pass. He doesn't have to do it all the time. He just got to do it a couple of times to burn the defense at least once or twice per game, and then all of a sudden the offense looks great,
right? Because
he's doing what he's supposed to do,
right?
Or he could do what the coach wants to do.
Right.
And needless to say, I still think Frank is poised to have a good year this season too, because he's getting back to his old self. And I'm going to say this too. Frank going to France, remember that French coach that I talked about brought Frank to being a top 10 pick. That's where I want to see Frank. Like, so just breaking down like the offense, the whiteboard, yeah, you're right. Like whiteboard really tells you how good a coach is.
Right.
But I think Fizdale really tried to prop up guys. And I didn't feel like Hardaway Jr. at the beginning of the season, he actually looked pretty good to a certain degree out of timeouts. I think there was an over-reliance on him on getting Hardaway the ball.
Right.
So like Hardaway, like they were trying to prop him up to make
they were giving him the opportunity to prove that he's a star, that the investment that the front office made in him was right. Now, what wound up happening is this, and I blame Fizdale more than anybody. There were times when, and I want to get to the Trey Burke and Moutier too, but I'm gonna just say there were times when, and the Indiana Pacers game is the gold standard for how the season went. The Knicks break out, start the game off hot coming out of first quarter, right? Emmanuel Moutier is giving Victor Oladipo, the business, right? Same move, top of the key, breaks down his man, gets to the basket and finishes, right? We're all excited. We're all excited because the year before, we saw a fat Moutier get to the basket and fall down and just flick something up at the rim. Yeah, yeah. You're like, we like, why is this dude? What's he doing in the camera crew?
Trash.
You're right, right. Fat Moutier, right. So this year you can tell his conditioning was better, right? Yeah. So he gets to the basket and he is actually finishing at the basket. You know what I'm saying? So the Knicks are beating the Pacers, right? And I think Knox throws a bad pass. Oladipo picks it off. They go down and score. The Pacers cut the lead to 9. They proceed to whittle the lead down to, I think, like 3 going into half. The Knicks have like a 3-point lead or some small lead. Coming out of half, the Knicks are flat. And the Pacers wind up, beat the final score winds up being 121 to 101. Coming out of half, the Knicks were flat. You can tell the coaching staff did not make adjustments at the half. And furthermore, during scoring droughts, Fizdale did not have go-to plays where he can get somebody a bucket.
A quick bucket.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And not like a 3-pointer, but I'm talking about something, a chippy going to the basket. You know what I'm saying? He couldn't get.
But then that's where I have to ask: is that because of a tanking year?
It can't, because the thing with tanking is a double-edged sword, right? Say with your young guys, you don't want to get them accustomed to losing, right? So you create a losing atmosphere, and what happens is you're like, now we're gonna flip switch guys. Now that we got this, now that we have Zion Williamson, we're gonna be contenders. Well, the dudes that lost all those games from last year are still the dudes that lost all those games from last year. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So while tanking was probably part of the equation, you still have to build a winner. You know what I'm saying? Like, make the guys play hard, draw up guys, have the guys have the expectation that when they're down by 2, with 4 minutes left to go in a game, the coach can draw up a play to get you. It doesn't have to lead to a basket. It just needs to lead to an open shot. That's the thing, because the coach can't put the ball in the basket for him. But what you could do is draw up a play to get a guy a open look. And the Washington Wizards game, what was it? The Wizards, the Milwaukee Bucks game, where the game was nip and tuck down the stretch. So the Knicks are up by 2 with 3 minutes left to go in the game, and Milwaukee is getting desperate. Moutier brings the ball up, gives it to Hardaway. Hardaway takes a contested 3-pointer with 19 seconds left on the shot clock. But you're up by 2 with 3 minutes left to go in the game. So the long 3-pointer creates a long rebound. And that's the thing that you try to tell people that don't know basketball. They look at rebounds in the stat column, but there's a difference between, like, rebound. There's degrees, levels to this rebounding stuff. Like what RJ Barrett does with 10 rebounds a game for a guard, that's super impressive because he's not a center. Centers catch all the soft rebounds at the basket, right? But long rebounds creates a chase to the ball because more people see it and they have more time to run to the ball. You know what I'm saying? And so while people think that don't make sense, man, think about this. If you have, say your defense is not set, but you jack up a 3 and it creates a long rebound. Well, one, your guys are going this way towards the basket. The defense is looking the other way. So they see the shot go up. So instead of crashing the boards, they leak out. So in Tim Hardaway's case, it led to a Chris Middleton layup or dunk at the other end. And in that same game, Tim Hardaway gave up the game-winning shot to Chris Middleton, and then turned around and cussed out Enes Kanter. so we say Tim Hardaway, but I'm not a fan of Tim Hardaway. I'm glad his ass is gone.
Neither am I. I'm glad he's gone. But when I look at that team, Inez Cantor all year long was a big negative on defense.
Right.
Kevin Knox, big negative on defense.
Right. Moutier.
Well, he tried, but he was a negative. I wouldn't say a big negative like those other two. And then
Trey Burke.
Very simple. Well, Trey Burke didn't play enough games for me to really judge him that way, but he was a negative.
Right.
But then when you look at Hardaway Jr., so Hardaway Jr., like, remember the first game I want to say that they played against Brooklyn?
Oh my God.
You remember that game?
Yeah, and the one in October, right? Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah, it's in October. So Hardaway is defending Karis LeVert. Is it LeVert? Yeah, LeVert. And Hardaway allows him to go to his right side, I believe, or his left. Well, yeah, his right side. Allows him to go right. And the scouting report clearly says this guy loves.
Don't let him go right. Right. Same thing with it's the Knox. It's the Knox scouting report. Don't let him dribble right. So
yeah, Clyde was saying that all over the thing. He was before the play. I think before the play started, he was like, he loves to go right. Don't let him go right. He allowed him to go right, and then Clyde is like, he allowed him to go right. Why did he allow him to go right? The scouting report says don't allow. And like when you have a guy that, so Bud Budenholzer, he sent Hardaway down to the G League immediately, many times.
Right.
Anytime he messed up. And this was the only thing I had a problem with Fizz. Like the coaching part, I felt like he was doing stuff off the court to build these guys back up from being torn down by Jeff Hornacek and also just dissecting what they need to be.
So why did he do it with Frank? So why didn't he do it with Frank? So why didn't he do it with Frank Ntilikina? It was clear. It was clear as day. He didn't try to do that with Frank.
Clear with what?
Huh?
Clear with what?
It's clear that the Knicks front office and coaching staff did not want Frank Ntilikina to play point guard. I mean. I
agree, but he did get his chance at point, though. It wasn't like he didn't get a chance.
No, man, he didn't get a fair shake. First of all, he only played 46 games. So
yeah, and
then two, he let Frank start at point guard for 4 games, right?
Yeah.
And Frank, I forget what the stat lines were, but Frank was so frustrating that you couldn't blame Fitz for not putting him back at point because he wouldn't shoot, and when he crossed half court, he would pass the ball and not go get it back. Like, so I played basketball in high school. I played basketball in high school, right? So, and I played with a point guard in Jersey City that liked to shoot the ball, right? When we were in 9th grade, my coach said, "Listen, Jason, look, I'm not Jason, by the way. Jason is the point guard." He was like, "Jason, look, we know you want to shoot, but pass the ball around, let everybody touch it, and if you get it back with a look, then shoot it." There's a difference. Frank Ntilikina, and shout out to Jason, by the way. He probably out there somewhere. Like, Jason was the first white chocolate. That's the first time I ever heard white chocolate is when my boy, they used to call my boy Jason White Chocolate. But anyway, Frank Ntilikina would cross half court, pass the ball, and not look to get it back until a player was distressed. You know what I'm saying? Like if Cantor had the ball, like looking around, like for somebody to pass it to or whatever, then he'll go get it, back out, and then maybe try to set something up. But by that time, you're talking about like 10, 11 seconds left on the shot clock. Now what are you going to do? But what I wanted to do, though, is before we get too far away from the point that you made, Trey Burke and Emmanuel Mudiay at point. In my mind, I think Trey Burke was a selfish player. And the reason being is because you would call the play, so you knew there was a play about to get formed, right? And if it looked like it wasn't going to be successful, Trey Burke would pull up in mid-range and shoot it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. As opposed to Emmanuel Mudiay, who basically went down with the ship. So to me, you have two different. To me, I give Mudiay credit for. I wasn't so. Full disclosure, the 2015 draft, the player I wanted out of that draft was Emmanuel Mudiay, right? The second player I wanted out of that draft was not Karl Anthony Towns, but Willie Cauley-Stein. And the third player I wanted was Mario Hezonja, right?
Wait. So you're saying after the draft order came out or before the draft order?
No, before the draft. Before the draft. Before we even knew where we were picking. You know what I'm saying? Before the lottery and everything. When I only knew about the prospects. You know what I'm saying?
So you didn't want Cat, you didn't want D'Angelo Russell.
Wasn't really feeling it's okay. So D'Angelo Russell, no, I didn't. Karl Anthony Towns, I thought, okay, to be honest with you, I thought he was soft. You know what I'm saying? I just thought he was soft. I was more impressed by Willie Cauley-Stein because Willie Cauley-Stein basically played the power forward to Karl Anthony Towns center, right? Even though Trill had the more center-like. Well, both of them are about the same size, but anyway. Mm-hmm. But Trill was the one running from the post, defending people on the perimeter. Karl Anthony Towns could do it, but you saw Trill doing the most running, right? And to me, having an athletic big that could run and do all that stuff, I preferred him. But I preferred Mudiay, though, over everybody because for 1,000 years, the Knicks needed a point guard. And this point guard, Mudiay, was the #1 high school recruit, and he was a point guard, right? He had all the stuff, explosive leaper, insane foot speed, 6'5", 200 pounds, handles. Knock on him was he couldn't shoot coming out of high school, right? But when you're Derrick Rose type or in that comparison, like Derrick Rose doesn't need a three-pointer. You know what I'm saying? Because who on the planet can stay in front of Derrick Rose? You know what I'm saying? I mean, if he can get to the basket and shoot layups, why ask him to shoot a low percentage shot? You know? So it was one of those things. I think our point guard the year before was Jose Calderon, Jeremy Lin, somebody, I don't know. Pablo Prigioni?
Jeremy Grant?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's one of those deals where it's like, so, you know, Mudiay is.
Jeremy Grant was out, yeah. But good.
Yeah, so it's like Mudiay's coming out. And then you're like, well, we have a chance to get Mudiay. Now, here's where things get interesting. So the Knicks have the second worst record in the league, the last game of the season, right? All they have to do is lose to the Washington Wizards, right? The Wizards have this huge lead. So I'm like telling my wife, like, hey, you ready to go to Applebee's? This is over. You ready to go? She's like, I've been ready to go. So anyways, I get to Applebee's or wherever Ruby Tuesday, wherever we went, Liz's Thicket. And shout out to Columbia. If you're not from Columbia, South Carolina, you might not know about Liz's Thicket. But anyway, so I get back and I look at my phone and it says, Maurice Indoor saves the day with a buzzer beater. What the fuck? We down by like 27, and some dude that don't even have a future with the team hits a buzzer beater, and it pushes us from having the worst record. I think we were tied with Minnesota. So Minnesota won, right? We win. So if Minnesota wins loses, if Minnesota wins and we lose, we have the tiebreaker over them. So we would have the worst record in the league. So now you're looking at us getting Karl Anthony Towns, right?
Yep.
But this Maurice India, whatever his name is, it's a buzzer beater, and we lose, and we wind up picking 4, right? But whatever. I'm a Knicks fan. I know for a fact whatever can go wrong will go wrong. Yeah, you know what I mean? So anyway, just to when we were talking about the prospects, man, Mario Hezonja's name was hot as fish grease as a prospect. They were calling him the Croatian Jordan. His confidence, his swagger. The dude is 6'8" and super athletic. He can handle and shoot the three. And I'm not thinking of him as Jordan. I'm thinking of him as a mix between Tony Kukoc and Drazen Petrovic. Because if he can shoot, that's exactly what the Knicks needed, you know. And at the time, you know, we thought he was going to be a shooting guard. You're talking about a 6'8" shooting guard, you know, in the NBA. Those are rare. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, going back to that, to the point we're making about Fizz, man, is, well, let me finish up on Moutier first. So with Moutier at point, and I know the whole draft thing got us so off track, but the Moutier thing is Moutier went down with the ship, and going down with the ship also comes with the blame, right? So Moutier would run the play, and the kids would be out there running into each other like a fire drill, not knowing where to go, not doing it correctly. And so Moutier gets to his spot, and guys are supposed to be at their spot, and they're not there. Now what do?
Yeah.
You know, now you pump faking around, trying to find, like, what are y'all open or not? Do you know the play or not? Now Moutier's at the free throw line and below in the paint looking to do something, and now he just crashes the rim because that's all he's got. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it was effective, sometimes it wasn't. But the whole thing with Moutier is people blame him because he was the guy with the ball when the shot clock expired. You know what I'm saying? Now you're like, man, what's Moutier doing? Well, Kevin Knox was supposed to curl around that screen that was set for him. He didn't make it around the screen. So first option is gone. So, right? So now you're looking at Damian Dotson. He's supposed to go to the box and pop back up to the top. You look at the top of the key, Damian Dotson is caught up in the Y. She can't get around his man and another offensive player. And now you have Moutier stuck with the ball. And now you're looking at, do I kick it out to Luke Cornett for three? You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, or what do I do now? And so sometimes he kicked it out to Cornett for three and it worked. And sometimes it didn't. But to put the entire blame on Moutier to say he was a bad point guard, I think Moutier gets a bad rap. It was totally unfair. And full disclosure, after we traded for Moutier and he came in fat, I was totally against him being on the roster, period. But in fairness, you gotta when you look at the game, you gotta look at the entire game, and you can't just say, Moutier's a bum, because he forced up shots and such. Trey Burke, on the other hand, when the offense went like that, when Dot disappeared, getting caught up in a wash trying to come around screens like he normally does, and Kevin Knox is strolling pedestrian around the screen that was set for him, and Luke Cornett is, with his slow-footedness, set a screen and supposed to slide to the corner, is not in the corner yet. Trey Burke is like, man, look, I'm shooting this. Well, what's the point? What's the point in waiting for them guys to get open? They're not going to get open. They know the play is busted. I'm just going to go for mine. So
my take on that is, and this is where I do blame Moutier for that, and I do blame Trey Burke, because I just had another thought to add to it, but I blame those guys because they are or have been in the league for a long time. They've been a part of many teams and have seen many NBA offenses.
Right.
So when you talk about someone that's been around that long, you want them to say, hey, young guys, let's go.
Right.
Kevin Knox, don't come around that screen slow no more, else you'll never touch this ball again.
Right. Sell it. You have to sell it, Kevin Knox. You have to sell the cut to the basket and then pop out. Don't just come pop straight out because the defender knows what you're doing. and don't half screen.
Right. Touch a guy when you screen.
Right.
And you gotta slam that home. And this is another thing too, where while ultimately I do just bring it back to free agency, I do like what we did. So we got a bunch of vets. We got a bunch of guys that been to the playoffs, that played on teams that had some type of aspirations in the playoffs. When you point to guys and you say, and I look at the vets that we had last year, I constantly go back to what is Lance Thomas there for. I go back to Moody. I go back to Trey Burke. Those guys were supposed to whip guys into shape. Like Trey Burke running through the sand dunes and all that kind of crap and getting into shape and this, that, and the third. That was cool. That was cute. But then what are you going to do from an NBA basketball standpoint? I could see that guys are not coming off screens or selling plays or doing every single thing that they're supposed to do or not making reads. Are you pulling guys aside and saying, that was your read, you should have done this, do it next time, or else you will not touch the ball whenever I'm point guard. Like, that's what I wanted to see. Right. That's why I still say this team missed Jared Jack. Like, you could directly see where Jared Jack would pull Frank to the side and say, you missed this, you missed that, this is what you need to do.
But the Knicks don't want that, though, man, because when Ramon Sessions was there, you remember Ramon Sessions, right? We traded him early in the year in 2017-18 season. We traded him early.
Yeah.
He would get into those cats' asses. You know what I'm saying? And like it wasn't even like on the low either. You know what I'm saying? It's like dudes didn't get to where they were supposed to be. Man, Ramon Sessions would blow a gasket. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got me. Look, the turnover goes in my column because you didn't even come to the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were supposed to come around here. I pass the ball, it goes out of bounds. I get the turnover because you were lazy. You know what I'm saying? So I felt
like Jared Jack actually did some of that, but then also when he played, he was more effective.
Right. Well, Ramon Sessions led us in scoring. Ramon Sessions was leading us in scoring before he got traded. So, I mean, yes, Ramon Sessions was balling for us. Yeah, Ramon Sessions was balling for us. Yeah, man, that dude was Ramon Sessions.
I'll go back to the numbers. I think you might. All right, I'll look back.
We'll maybe put a wager on it, maybe a coffee or something on that. Yeah. But Ramon Sessions was balling, man. The thing I liked about Sessions was he didn't wait till after the game to say, "Hey, you remember that play in the first quarter?" Ramon Sessions was like in dudes behind from go, and I think that's the reason why the Knicks got him out of there as quickly as they did, because I think he only played like a month, 2 months with us before traded. I think by December he was gone, or mid-December he was gone.
It might have been November actually. It was real quick.
Yeah.
Because remember Jared Jack took over in November, I believe.
Right.
Or late October, and they won like 20-something games because of it.
Right.
But ultimately, when Jared Jack is beloved around the league, I still say if we had let's just say from a mentorship standpoint, like they didn't re-sign Jared Jack because they wanted him to go look for join a championship team and win a ring. But I would have loved for the Knicks to just say, hey, look, come back for one more year, train our guys or help our guys out. Here's say $5-10 million. Right. And then also you look at DeAndre Jordan, his effect on Mitch. I would have loved those two guys with this team just to help build the young guys. And some of that is here this year. Bobby Portis, he works hard.
Right.
So, who knows how this year is going to turn out. But I was disappointed in Moutier and like they should have been on guys' ass. Like, you need to go harder. Like, you got to whip these guys into shape. Even Alonzo Trier. Like, Trier needs to be put in line. Like, this guy takes a lot of shots from guys.
Man.
And he's going to have to learn. Like, you got to do better than that. You're actually beating guys to spots, and you're breaking down the defense, drawing double teams at times, and you're not looking for the pass at all.
Right.
So, something's got to give, and somebody's got to get in these guys. Because Marcus Morris, we just signed him today. Yeah, yesterday, sorry.
So Marcus Morris did sign. So he did sign.
Yeah, he did sign.
Okay.
They stole him from the Spurs.
Okay. I heard he was he might sign. So I wasn't for sure if it was an official signing or not, but
I'll double check Woj. But yeah, I thought I saw that he did sign and the Spurs, they stole him from the Spurs.
Okay.
And that's big.
That's huge.
That's big. You talk about somebody like that, he's gonna really light guys on fire. And then, like, today too, CK2K was saying that he doesn't think he likes Kadeem, but he's not convinced he's gonna take Frank's minutes. I agree. Kadeem hasn't been playing too well this summer league. So, like, our point guard play got to step up.
Well, let me finish off in this topic about the Moutier and Trey Burke and Ramon Sessions and Jarrett Jack and Frank Ntilikina and everybody else who played. So to sum it up, I don't think it's totally any of the point guard's fault. I think a lot of it has to be system changes from the triangle to Hornacek doing the triangle to Hornacek scrapping the triangle to Fizdale running the open gym. I think at some point, point guards have to know where guys are going to be on the floor. And these guys also have to, the wing players and bigs have to know where the other guys are going to be so that your timing is right. Because timing and what's the other word I'm talking about? Chemistry. Timing and chemistry are important to running a good offense. When you don't have those, then you don't have good offense. It's no matter what it is. It could be your car. If your car's timing is not on, it's gonna misfire. It's with everything, man. So I say Fizdale has to come in with some. So if his offense is gonna be open gym, right? There has to be certain points in the game when open gym is not working, right? You have to have an offense to go to in order to get out of the scoring drought. Because people think the Knicks are trash, but the Knicks didn't play like trash. The Knicks played like a team devoid of a superstar last year. That's the reason why we lost 17 games, because teams would go on like a 10-0 run on us and we couldn't recover. You know what I'm saying? Now you're playing 10 points down. And then you go into another drought. The other team goes on an 8-0 run, right? And so a team goes on an 8-0 run, you don't have to score 10 points, to catch up. If you have a superstar that can get you 7 points, now the lead is only 3. You know what I'm saying? They go on an 8-0 run, then we come back with a 6-0 run. Now you're only down 5 points. You know what I'm saying? That's a difference between being down 18 points and the game looks hopeless and lost versus a team being down 5 points. That's what I think the key thing is for the Knicks. Now that you have an RJ Barrett and an improved Kevin Knox, I don't think you'll see those 12-0, 14-0, 19-0 runs where you have no punch on offense to get you back in the game. At the very minimum, RJ Barrett is going to get to the basket and get fouled. Now, converting his free throws is an issue with me, right? Kevin Knox looks like he's a guy that can, that it can be a drought buster. Alonzo Trier is a guy that looks like they can be a drought buster. But with all that said, now that you add a Julius Randle is the type of guy. Julius Randle, Bobby Portis, and Morris are the guys that I think can stop those droughts where teams just go all out on us, these 10-0 runs. And listen, every NBA team, I don't care, Toronto Raptors are going to give up 10-0 runs. You know what I'm saying? They're the champs. It happens, man. What happens is a team will get into a set that's perfect against a defense that the other team is calling. And like, for instance, give you an example. Fred VanVleet was red hot from 3, right? And so they start running the pick and roll with Van Vliet so he can get that open look at three. Well, Golden State starts to trap the pick and roll, and not from the interior, but they come from the outside looking to pin him behind the big, right? So, right. So instead of Van Vliet getting behind the big and being able to shoot over the top of his big, now you're forcing him back 2 or 3 feet. Now instead of that 23-foot 3-pointer, now you're shooting a 26-foot 3-pointer with a hand in your face, maybe 2, right? So what Toronto does, what Nick Nurse does, is he puts Siakam in one corner and Danny Green in the other corner. You trap the pick and roll. Now the guys that you use to double team, their offensive guys are in the corners for 3. Now, if you defend those guys that are in the corner for 3, now you have a Marc Gasol or Serge Ibaka in front of the rim wide open. You can't leave that. You know what I'm saying? So now your defense is like, do I guard these bigs or do I go out to the perimeter? Now it's Van Vliet's read. He's like, okay, they're covering the guy at the basket, kick it out to Danny Green in the corner. Danny Green started knocking down those open threes because he was missing the contested threes. He starts knocking down the open threes, and now you have an adjustment to the offense. It's the same thing that happened with the Knicks. If it wasn't for Luke Cornett in some games, we'd have probably do. But anyway, my whole point is a roster that's devoid of a superstar bucket getter is going to be a team that's devoid of a lot of wins.
Okay. I don't know how I feel. I agree with the superstar bucket getter thing. The devoid of an offense. I agree with it, but again, too, I still feel like he was experimenting last year. And you don't come to say Nick Nurse's point, because Nick Nurse experimented a lot too.
Right.
I think that Fizdale he wanted to do half the season with experimentation and then the other half not be, like, to be more staples, like to have a steady offense.
Right.
But the fact that he took the whole year, he knows everyone's tendencies in multiple different types of offenses and situations.
Right.
So I agree with you, but then my disagreement is now that he knows these guys, and you have these guys that are, I'm going to just use Morris, Portis,
right,
Taj Gibson,
right,
and Randall. Like those 4 guys are all fiery. Those 4 guys are vets who've been through it all.
Right.
Those 4 guys could really put us into a situation where it's we're not taking, like, our third quarters with Fizdale and with Hornacek the same. Horrible. We came out flat so many times where, you know, like, Fizdale should give guys just a ticket and say, go. Just get on these guys for this timeout. And, you know, coming out flat, that can't happen anymore. I think that more than anything else, because we started games out very well.
But Nick G, we can't say that, man, because in summer league, that has been our MO. Like, jump out early.
Well, but you gotta understand, the vets are not there either. Like, they're not ripping into guys.
Right.
You know, like, if let's say Taj Gibson is part of this team, what would Taj Gibson do? You know, like, or even Elfrid Payton. Like, Elfrid Payton, I hope he could bring steady point guard play and make guys feel like, damn, I might get traded DSJ for the second time. Frank, I might truly get traded this time. Who else? Whoever else you could pick. Like, go down the line. Like, guys could really feel a lot of pressure because there is someone ahead of them. Right. Now, ultimately, I want the Knicks to end up trading some of these guys for more talent. because I feel like we're poised to make a trade.
Right.
But it is what it is.
Hey, I'm gonna grab something right quick, man. I wanted to ask you though, see if you can expound on this. What do you think is Frank Ntilikina's future in New York?
Frank's future is all right. So I see Frank as the exact. There's a Venn diagram basically of Frank and RJ, where in the middle they do a lot of the same things. They both could run point. They're big. They could read defenses. They could make that pass. Hopefully one day they both could shoot.
Right.
Very well. But where they don't overlap is Frank is better on defense. RJ is better on offense. And like defense does not is just the thing that doesn't equalize the two. Frank is naturally aggressive, even though I think he will bring more aggression this year as he gets more confident. But it depends on the first 2 months of play, because I think by the time December 15th rolls around, we'll know if he's going to be traded or not. Like, I think if he plays well, averages say 12 points per game in say 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it may be, he's going to stay with the Knicks.
Right.
If he doesn't accomplish that, of course, he's got to be aggressive. He's got to be vocal. What's funny too? Like, even Frank's English has improved so far. You look at when he's been working out and stuff. I saw Fizdale in the video.
Right.
I was impressed by that. Like, Frank truly has been working, and that's the thing about Frank too. Like, all these guys we've drafted these past 3 years, Frank, Knox, and also RJ, they all have been working hard, and you could see it. Like, you could see the attention to detail on their games.
Right.
And it's hard to just justify giving up on that. Like, Fizdale said, you got to work on your body. Frank worked on his body last year. He did the same thing this year. He got back healthy. He's in the gym every day shooting, blah, 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 blah. And I think from the French games that he's going to play for his national team, you're going to see some of the work he's done in the little bit of time in Dallas, trying to become aggressive, learning how to shoot. And we're going to see what little bit of work, because it's been, 2 to 3 months since the season's end?
Right.
And you're going to see where his progress has been real quick. That's the luxury, because that's extended summer league kind of play against in that international competition. Then he's going to come back into training camp in shape, unlike some guys.
like Reggie Bullock. Like Reggie Bullock, right.
Reggie Bullock might not be on the team, so that would mean we still got like 10 mil. So you could bring back Damian Dotson. I don't know if Dotson is going to come back or not, but I would rather Dotson over Lance Thomas. It's another wing. I would love for them to trade Dotson rather than to not keep him.
Right.
But yeah, man, I like Dotson a lot. And
so my thing
with
Dotson is this. My thing is Dotson is this. If the NBA had a stat that could measure heart, Damian Dotson would be an all-star. You know what I'm saying? It's just one of those. It's just one of those things. But the thing is, though, Damian Dotson is limited. You know what I'm saying? So he's a really good on-ball defender, but off the ball, it's like a 5-on-4. You know what I'm saying? Because he gets lost, caught up in the wash, hit screens. You know what I'm saying? So he's like Tim Hardaway Jr. off the ball. On the ball, though, he's a dog dog like Pat Beverly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like one of those things is you value him staying in front of his man, but when his man has the ball, but what about when his man doesn't have the ball? And the thing I don't like about Dotson is this. So say Dotson takes 13 shots in the game. So Dotson is going to be, if he takes 13 shots, so that's about just about 3+ shots per quarter, right? Those it's going to be one shot in the beginning of the quarter, one shot in the middle of the quarter, one shot at the end of the quarter. So it's like not impactful. Like he doesn't get hot. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't give you that thing that Trier gives you. Like when Trier walks on the court, you're like, okay, I already know this dude's going to give me 12 points. I don't know when he's going to get them, but I know they're coming. With Dotson, you're like, if Don get an open look, he'll knock it down. You know what I'm saying? But in today's NBA, where shooting guards score, where it's a guard-oriented league, you know, you got to have some punch at that 2-guard spot. And I blame Dotson a lot for, and I'm a Dotson fan. I like Dotson. I like big guards. I like tall, long guards that are somewhat athletic in the league, right? So you got Dotson is like the system guy, basically. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So he brings a different element to the table, but a system guy doesn't necessarily have to be a starter, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I'm the Knicks, I bring back Dotson, but that 2-guard spot is not promised to anybody. I'm having open competition. I'm having RJ versus Trier versus Ellington versus Dot, and may the best man win, as opposed to, you know, crowning RJ Barrett the starter and then let him go through his growing pains. And if the Knicks had won 25 games last year and messed around and got the 6th pick in the draft, and it still would have been RJ Barrett, then I'd have been like, okay, you know, let him go through his growing pains. But we went through a 17-win season with Kevin Knox going through that. And I myself and a bunch of Knicks fans may not have the patience to go through watching the kid go through his growing pains, knowing we just did the same thing last year. So, but to
well, okay, all right. So let me ask you this, and I don't know if this is where you're going to go into, but let's talk about the free agents for a second and the ultimate plan for the team.
Right.
We did this the last time. No training camp, no nothing. Who's your starting five?
Dennis Smith Jr., RJ Barrett, Kevin Knox, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson.
Okay. And Mitch. Okay. Why DSG?
I think I think Dennis Smith Jr. is who would I compare him to? I think he is Steve Francis. You know what I'm saying? I think in the right system, I think this dude could be like 23 and 5 assists. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, so here's the thing. I know you're going to say 23 points, man. Golly. Dude shooting a lot.
No, I can see it. Okay.
So my thing is this. When you have a guy, and this goes back to my triangle point, when you have a guy that's a superior athlete than 99% of the guys in the league, I think you have to use that to his advantage. I don't care nothing about 3-point shot percentage. I don't care nothing about he didn't get 10 assists all year. I don't care anything about that, man. All I care about is the D Rose theory, if the Russell Westbrook theory. If your guy is better than the guy in front of you, exploit that matchup. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying he's going to do 23, 5 and 5 this year. What I'm saying is somewhere in that body is a guy that can do 23, 5 and 5, right? Because when you think about it, you say, who's more athletic, Russell Westbrook or Dennis Smith Jr.? And immediately you think, man, Russell Westbrook. But wait a minute. But wait a minute. Wait a minute. Have you ever seen Russell Westbrook dunk on somebody like Smith Jr. Almost did bodied Bertans from San Antonio?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Westbrook is fast coast to coast, right? Man,
Yeah.
Smith Jr. is fast coast to coast when given the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? I think if you showcase him, then so here are your primary scorers, right? And I know this is probably the reason the reason why I say DSJ over Elfrid Payton, because honestly, and let me finish with DSJ first. So honestly, I don't see Elfrid Payton being better than Dennis Smith Jr. at age 25. So Elfrid Payton is 25 years old right now. Dennis Smith Jr. is 21. If Dennis Smith Jr. is not better than Elfrid Payton by age 25, then we call him a bust, right? You know, and so
I won't, but you're fine.
Right. But and I say that based off of a lofty expectation. So if you don't have a lofty expectation for him, then, but so anyway, back to the starting lineup. So you have RJ Barrett, who will be the third or fourth scoring option, right? All you want him to do is learn on the job, right? So then you have Kevin Knox, who probably be your second or third scoring option. And then you'd have Julius Randle, who will be the number one option. Mitchell Robinson is, the crumb snatcher. Like centers nowadays are basically crumb snatchers. And then DSJ, if he maximizes his potential in his third year, like guys generally try to trend up, then you're looking at a guy that can get you 20 points a game. And then plus Dennis Smith Jr. has a higher profile than other Knicks on the roster. Like people across the country know him more just for Sports Center highlights, whether it's in Dallas or him being in the dunk contest as a Knick. You know what I'm saying? Nobody knows Kevin Knox. Kevin Knox barely made a rookie sophomore game, barely, and didn't do anything. Frank Ntilikina either. So, but anyway, that's my starting five. So I think you're gonna start Frank Ntilikina. Frank Ntilikina, no. Give Frank a chance.
No. So I'm right there with you. DSJ is my first point guard.
Right.
I agree with that. I don't think so. You're saying like one day he'll get to 23 and 5, 23, 5 and 5, right?
I don't think it'll be this year, but definitely next season. Definitely, I think he's got the potential to get there because for one, you have to break him out of all of his bad habits, right? And then two, it takes a commitment from the coach. You know what I'm saying? The coach has to buy into the guy. You know what I'm saying? Clearly, man, Rick Carlisle did not buy into DSJ, and DSJ still averaged 15 and a half points a game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's impressive, man. And then when he got to the Knicks and averaged, I think he was at 16 points, and then it may have dropped to 14 points. But I'm not sure. But that's still impressive too for half a season. No system is just open gym.
Well, so that's why I say, okay, starting off with the system. Remember, I believe that Fizdale has a set of principles driving kick. The best driver and best kicker of the ball, at least as of last year, was DSJ.
Right.
That's why I feel like, from a fit standpoint, with what Fizz likes to do, DSJ is the best point guard.
Right.
I think he would explode this coming season because this kid, I like guys who fail and are trying to fight their way back.
See, that's one to grow on right there. And shout out to the people that have fallen and got dusted up, you know what I'm saying, and got back up. You know what I'm saying? Because I'll say this. So I used to box in the military back in the late 80s, early 90s, right?
Yeah.
And so I was a street fighter trying to learn the sweet science. You know what I'm saying? Because just because you can fight on the street don't mean you can box in a ring. You know what I'm saying?
And I'll be right back, but
Okay.
I'm listening.
Okay. All right. So the reason why I say that is, and I always seem to bring that up, is because say you have potential to do a thing and you start that thing and you realize it's harder than what you thought, and you start to lose at it, and you have all these trying days where you start to question yourself, like, why am I really doing this? Is this thing for me? You know what I'm saying? Throwing like pity parties and thinking instead of doing it smarter, you try to do it harder, and doing it harder doesn't always work. And I'm not saying don't, never give maximum effort, but along the way in life, we all have to learn lessons, because if you don't learn lessons, then you constantly do it the way you thought was the right way to do it, and you constantly fail. So those lessons that you learn help you build character and things like that. So it's like, so I boxed. I got into the ring, started boxing. I was taller but smaller than everybody else. So I was boxing at I was 6'4" and some change, and or like the pro scouts say, but he's 6'6" in sneakers. But anyways, so 6'4" and some change, man, and barely at 200 pounds. So some days I would be 200 pounds, and some days I'd be 199 and frustrated that I wasn't 200. And so for the thin guys, and I'm not thin now, and that's another story. But for the thin guys, the most frustrating thing is like not being able to keep on weight in a situation where everybody outweighs you, right? So I was 200 pounds, and I was boxing against guys that were about 240, 245, 250, 260, sometimes 270. I mean, I boxed against a guy that was 300 pounds one time. But anyways, I wouldn't lose to them guys, but I would get beat up by them guys. Like my boxing coach told me, this is back in the days of the point system where you had to white on your gloves and you just had to touch them up or whatever. So he was like, Freezy, you don't have to knock them out, just point them to death. And I was like, what do you mean point them to death, coach? He was like, just put the white part on their body or their face. And so instead of knocking people out, I would just be like, and those guys would swing and hit me in the ribs, and the crowd would go, ooh, and all that stuff. But anyways, what I'm getting to with Dennis Smith Jr. is having the ability to do something and having the confidence to do something doesn't mean it's going to make you the perfect person for that thing that you're looking to be. You have to learn how to do it. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you have to subdue your passions. Sometimes you have to, set your ego aside in order to learn from somebody who may not be or may never have been as athletic as you, but they know the art of playing point guard. And that's the thing with Dennis Smith Jr. is you have to understand how to play the position, right? Because right now, being the best athlete is not going to get him anywhere. And to say that, I'll just be Derrick Rose, Kevin Johnson, Tim Hardaway, anybody, like I'll just drive by my guy and score. Only a certain few people did that. And then eventually all those guys that I named, they lost athleticism somewhere, and they had to learn how to be a point guard or they would not be in the league, right? And that's where Dennis Smith Jr. is. Just an athletic guy. If he don't learn how to do it, he is not going to be in the league for long. So not as a starter, not as a role guy, not as a rotation guy. That's just where. And Frank Ntilikina is in the same situation. Like he has to learn how to play the position in the NBA. I don't give a shit about what he did in France. In the NBA, he has to learn how to run an NBA offense. And if he can't do it, his ass will be back in France. Right. And I know that's a mean way to say it, but for as much as I love Frank, and I think I love Frank Ntilikina more than any Knicks fan USA, right? Or globally. But at some point, you have to prove that you're able to do it. You can't people can only make excuses for so long before the spotlight is just on that kid to do it himself. I heard you say what you said about Frank Ntilikina was endearing to me. And I understand, what you're saying is the potential for Frank to be a great NBA player is there, right? But he has to realize that potential. With me, the thing is with Frank Ntilikina is he has no idea how to run an NBA offense. Coming across half court, giving the ball up, and then running back to get it with 10 seconds left is how we did it in the 70s, in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? You don't play it that way no more. Like when I go to the YMCA to play with these kids, the point guard, if the point guard grabs a rebound, you may as well stay back on defense because you're not going to touch it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a different era. So anyway, that's just what I wanted to, not to take over the starting thing, but.
No, you good. But the failure, just to go back to the failure thing, he's failed. And he had a coach that chose other players over him, to let Luka Doncic, who is a special player,
right,
to take his spot.
Right.
And DSJ, now that he knows what he needs to work on, his body already looks to be in a good shape so far. This is 3 months out, and then 3 months away from the season starting.
Right.
The next 3 months, I want to see that shot improve. I want to see, and he doesn't have to make leaps and bounds, but he does have to go up a couple percentage
at least he's got to do at least 5 because he's a career 30% 3-point shooter. That's terrible. Yeah. He's got to at least shoot 35%.
I get it. 35 is good, but my goal for him is just to have better shot selection,
right?
And then ultimately to score more, just to go to the line more.
And hit his free throws. He's another guy that won't hit his free throws.
But that's why. But that's why I'm saying, for me, this season is what I'm talking about. I just want to see him go to the line more, which he already went to the line way more than Moutier. Which is the point of the drive and kick, is to put teams in foul trouble.
Right.
You gotta first of all get to the line. Still be active on defense, which he is. And then also just be in tip-top shape, and then make your shots when you can. I want to see a 5% or 3% rise in his shot, somewhere in between that range.
Right.
And 3 ball, I'm not really as concerned with. I want to see that improve by year 6.
Right.
But right now, I want to see that 2 ball improve, finish better at the rim, finish better, make your passes. So I'm saying 15 and 5, 15, 5 and 5.
Oh, well, that's what he normally does, though. Not 5 rebounds, but 15 and 5. That's what he normally does. That's right at his career average.
That's what I'm saying. But he has to go after the rebounds.
Right.
That's the point. He has to go after them. That was my big problem with Frank. I don't care. When you say a guy, he started the season last year. I know I need to be aggressive. Well, for me, bring it on defense as you always do. But then, what do you have to be aggressive? You could go after rebounds. Frank is 6'5", 6'6", right? I understand if DSJ doesn't get the rebound, but Frank,
and with a 7'2" wingspan, you 6'7",
exactly
215 with a 7'2" wingspan. Come on, man,
that's probably closer to 225 now.
Right.
That's no excuse going forward.
Right.
He had, and the game that he got hurt in, he had a stat line of 5 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of stat line I want to see going from him, but just with 10 points versus 5 points. And he had got hurt at halftime. That's why I say that was the most aggressive and comfortable in his body I saw him in a while. And that's what I want to see. Just like from Frank, he could come off the bench and be the backup to RJ,
right?
And give you, as long as he gives you that 5 rebounds, 5 assists, I'm good. The 10 points is what I want to see.
I want to see him at point guard, man, because I think
I agree.
I think the natural point guard instincts are there. Like the point guard mentality is there. The aggressiveness is not. It's he looks shook or scared.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you can't be that at point guard in the NBA because it's a dog eat dog world in the NBA.
But see, that's the okay. So I'm the whole point of what I'm trying to get to is like when it comes to Frank in particular, going after the rebound, that 5 rebounds, like per fizz, whoever grabs the rebound is the point guard.
Right.
So for me, from the time he grabs that rebound, just like with Russell Westbrook, when you grab that rebound, you gotta go. You gotta push. Forget the outlet pass. He could run offense. He's played point guard last year.
Right.
Even when he did not, when he was coming off the bench playing point guard last year, or this past season,
right,
he still ran it well. So, like for me, if you dare take DSJ out the game and put Frank in with the same lineup, the length that's on that court that you're talking about between RJ, Frank, Knox, Randall, and Mitch, that's a lot of length.
Right.
If he mixes it up and gets in the mix and tries to get 5 rebounds every single game and leads the break between him and RJ, that's a very potent offense. If they try to get a rebound and leak out and just go, forget it, just push.
Right. Right. All right. So,
and that's more lethal than DSJ at point guard because of the size.
All right. So I gotta run, man. I probably got about 15 minutes that I can spare, man, before I have to wrap up. But so what I wanted to talk about is the free agent additions, right?
All right.
So the Frank Ntilikina conversation is gonna be one for the ages. Every chat, every video, every Knicks fan interaction, Frank Ntilikina somehow becomes the topic of But I'm not really impressed with Wayne Ellington and Reggie Bullock, right? I understand that they have roles to play, you know what I'm saying? So there'll be role players. I am, however, impressed by the Markieff Morris, Bobby Portis, and Julius Randle. I am impressed by that. So I'm not impressed by Taj Gibson. I think we overpaid him. And we signed another point guard too, right? I mean, another power forward, right? Who's the other power forward? So we signed Portis, Randall. So we signed Portis,
Gibson.
Randall, Taj Gibson.
He's more of a center. They got him listed at center,
but he's not a center. He's a power forward. But
power forward, yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, so
Morris.
And Morris, right? So anyway, I'm not really impressed by most of those. I like the Randall signing. I wanted Randall anyway. I felt like we should have signed D'Angelo Russell and what's his name? D'Angelo Russell and Julius Randle. Anyway, because for one, they played together already and they have chemistry. 2, both high lottery picks with tremendous upside. 3, they've both proven that given an opportunity to be the face of a franchise, that they can thrive. So we didn't get D'Angelo Russell, but we did get, and so the irony here is I didn't like D'Angelo Russell coming out as a prospect. I like Moutier, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask about it.
Okay. Right. And now I'm here talking about please sign D'Angelo Russell and please get Moutier out of here. But anyway, everybody has the right and opportunity to be wrong. So, but anyway, by signing Julius Randle, I think it shores up 3 things. 1, gives us another bona fide scorer, right?
That's with Russell?
No, with Randle. Julius Randle. Julius Randle. So it gives us another bona fide scorer. So that drought thing that I talked to you about a few moments ago, like when a team would go 10 on a 10-0 run against us and we couldn't, chop it down or whatever. So now you have somebody there that can at least give a team 5 of those points back. You know what I'm saying? So now instead of a 10-0 run, it's like a 5-0 run. Even though it looks like 15-5, the deficit is still, or what is the deficit look? 10-5. The deficit is still 5 compared to deficit being 10. So anyway, I like Bobby Portis, and the reason why I like Bobby Portis, man, is because the Knicks, for the last few years, have been absolutely soft to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Even Kevin Knox getting the ball ripped away from him by Zion in Summer League just proves that we've been soft. You know what I'm saying? And I know Zion.
Come on.
I know Zion.
That's a lot of muscle, man. Come on.
Hey, man, how many more excuses you got? How many more excuses you got in that bag, man?
That boy got cornbread fed from South Carolina. Like that kid.
Hey, so you have a bag full of excuses for these young Knicks players, man. Sooner or later, that bag is gonna be empty. Sooner or later.
No, but still, at the same time, Kevin Knox blocked Zion's shot. No one said anything.
Twice.
Mitch blocked his shot.
Yep.
No one said anything.
Right.
Like, I agree with you, but it's not like Kevin Knox almost didn't miss a 3. Like, he was giving it to him right back.
He was giving him the business, right?
Yeah, he couldn't get that rebound or rip that rebound back, but like, bro, he did give Zion the business.
Right, no doubt.
On the other end too.
Right, no doubt. But 3, the third thing about Portis, so it's like, what did we say? Toughness, scoring, and wanting to be a Knick. Like, this whole thing with Julius Randle didn't stretch out over months. Like, oh my God, is he coming? Is he not? It's like, as soon as we found out we were out on KD, Julius Randle was a Knick. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like, it's one of them things like the dude didn't want to be here or he just signed for the money. Because dudes that sign for the money, they wait to see all the offers they can get. And whoever has the most bread, they search that. They try to get that bag. But Randle wanted to be here. And Portis gives us a level of on-the-court toughness that we hadn't had. You know what I'm saying? Because the last time I saw the Knicks get into a skirmish that actually meant something was Frank Ntilikina shoving LeBron James. You know what I'm saying? I watched, and people were saying, well, what do you mean they're soft? They can't get texts and all that stuff. Man, look, the Greek Freak dunked on Tim Hardaway, put his nuts on Tim Hardaway's forehead, dunked on him, right? This play, guess when that play happened? Guess when that play happened? So that play happened right after Kristaps Porzingis dunked in Milwaukee, and them cats pushed. I'm not gonna say pushed, but Porzingis dunked and wound up being out of bounds by like 10 feet going towards the bench with a torn ACL, right? And so in my mind, being an ex-basketball player, I'm thinking like, these dudes just injured our best player. You know what I'm saying? I gotta do something to this dude. You know what I'm saying? He gotta feel an elbow or something. You can't just do that to your star. Because can you imagine Scottie Pippen's face if they'd have did that to Jordan, Dennis Rodman, Horace Grant, whoever, their face, if somebody would have injured Jordan or somebody would have injured Larry Bird or somebody would have injured LeBron James. I mean, somebody injured Kevin Durant. I mean, come on, man. I mean, things like that just don't happen. That's what I'm saying. The Knicks are soft. They have a certain level of, everybody knows we need toughness. We needed toughness going into this year. That's why Bobby Portis was a must sign. The Taj Gibson thing, we could have gave that money to Ray Rondo, I think. And it would have been just like what we talked about, having a veteran point guard mentor. You know what I'm saying? So, so with Taj, I don't even think Taj is going to get minutes this year. Because after you sign Morris, so for a fact that Portis, Randall, Mitch, Knox are all going to get minutes, right? Now you're like, well, who else is going to get minutes in the front court? Is it going to be Iggy? Is it going to be Bullock? Is it going to be who else did they sign? Is it going to be Taj? I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but they're definitely.
I get it. For me, just looking at these guys, I feel like they're trade assets. I think they're just there to be traded.
Right.
And I'll put this out there too. This is my idea. And this goes back to your Fizdale system thing. If Fizdale prop these guys up, has a 3-point happy system, because all of these guys, Ellington, Bullock,
right.
I hope they do sign him, but Bullock,
Trier, Morris, Dot, yeah, all them guys.
Trier.
They can all shoot the three. Yeah, right.
Let's say you design a trade where you have Bullock, Gibson, and let's say Alfred Payton. Let's say Payton is in there too. Each one of them get paid like 10 mil per year. Right. I think Gibson is like 15, right?
Gibson.
He's either 15 or 10.
No, he's 10.
They all might be 10.
He's 2 for 10. Yeah.
2 for 10, right? Okay, so all of them get paid 10 mil per year. You go to Golden State at mid-season when Klay Thompson comes back, and you say, I'll give you these 3 guys that are 3-and-D guys. Or you could say give them Marcus Morris instead of Gibson. You could say Wayne Ellington instead of Gibson. And we'll give you, say, 2nd-round picks because we got 2 coming from Charlotte. We'll give you those guys for your boy D'Angelo Russell.
Right. So we have 2 coming from Charlotte. But remember, we're down to 2nd-round picks, too.
Well, either way, what I'm saying is, like, whatever it is, you can say no picks. I don't care. I would love to keep the picks because the Knicks seem to be drafting better in the 2nd round.
Right.
But at the same time,
that's the appearance, right? That's the appearance.
Yeah.
But it's still early.
The appearance. But you could say, give me D'Angelo Russell if by the end, like December 15th. This is my whole point with Frank, where I said, if Frank doesn't look good, by December, we'll know if he should be gone or stay.
I'm telling Golden State, I'll give you Damian Dotson, Alonzo Trier, and Frank Ntilikina for D'Angelo Russell.
But you got to add up to 30 mil, though.
Yeah, that's right.
It's 30 mil. So
and right there, that's only 10 mil.
Like, these guys that you're talking about, like, I don't mind Trey. You can say Trey, Dotson, and Frank, right? You said?
Right.
So that'll give you 10. And then you add in Bullock.
And Taj. Bullock and Taj Gibson. Right.
That would give them depth, right? That'll give them veteran presence with Gibson.
Right.
Bullock, another vet. And then young players they could build with.
Right.
Trey is a bucket getter, just like D'Angelo Russell. He's efficient as hell.
Right.
But they could do something with it, and you could say, "Give me D'Angelo Russell," and let's say you could even do the 3 guys I mentioned, and Frank and Dotson and whoever, and you say, "Give me Kevon Looney." So you might say Kevon Looney, who took a pay cut, he's getting paid like 15 mil per year. You just make the contracts work, and then you have a young guy that won championships, played really, really tough. Right. Like Kevon Looney is impressive.
Yeah,
he has great defensive awareness.
Right.
He could dive and roll to the basket.
Super athletic. Him and Jordan Bell are super athletic. Except Looney is injury prone. But I understand what you're saying though.
And then you could even say, give me the Jordan Bell instead of Looney.
Right.
And just take that, and that'll be you're still young. Your guys are under 25. You have a point guard of the future.
Right.
My dream scenario is trade 3 guys out of these free agents for D'Angelo Russell.
Right.
And I'm gonna just throw something out there too. This is my last part, because I know you gotta go. I'll trade one of the Dallas picks and two of our picks.
What?
With matching salary.
What?
Hold on. For Karl Anthony Towns.
Get out of here. Minnesota's not going.
No. Well, hear me out. Hear me out on this. Because of the Paul George trade, that's my inspiration.
Right.
The reason why I say that is D'Angelo Russell wants to play with Karl Anthony Towns.
Right.
If D'Angelo Russell is here with us for 4 years, Karl Anthony Towns is starting his 4-year contract. Those two could play together. Plus, I'm not saying trade Randall. I'm not saying trade Mitch. But you give up the picks so you don't have to give up the players.
Right.
And you just give up the vets. And then Ignas Rodriguez could play. Then, like all the gluttony we have at
power forward,
at the wing position, power forward position, now it starts to make sense because we got rid of the bulk of guys.
Right. Because
the money's matched. They could get cap space with that.
Right.
And then the cap space that they get, Minnesota, that is, from the 1 year, 2 year contracts that we have, would give them cap relief from Andrew Wiggins. It would give them cap relief. And then they'll have picks that they could build off of. We'll have young guys that we have in our system for 4 years.
Right.
Because Julius Randle played with Russell. Julius Randle also played with Cat in college.
Right.
You have something to build with, and all of them will be under 25, 26.
Hey, so I think Knicks fans USA probably enjoyed the conversation. And the reason being is because Knicks fans for non-Knicks fans, this is how we chop it up, right? We start off on this one thing, and then it evolves. The conversation evolves and morphs into this amoeba-like, all-encompassing Knicks now conversation. So what happened in the past is Knicks fans would always talk about how back in the day, how the Knicks played because we never had hope. Now Knicks fans have hope. And so now we talk about these things, Frank Ntilikina, Kevin Knox, RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, Alonzo Trier, Damian Dotson, Izzy Brad Zinkus. We didn't even get a chance to talk about Chris Wilkes. We didn't even get a chance to talk about the guys that left that we kind of missed, like Luke Cornett. I mean, listen, man. So Luke Cornett was a stiff that had one skill. He could shoot the three. You know what I'm saying? And so he had one skill. But on top of that, but on top of that, though, Luke was a fan favorite low key because he was a good guy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Kind of nerdy, quirky type, kind of cool to be with, fit in any crowd, self-deprecating humor. I saw this clip where Knicks fans were waiting for the stars to come outside, and the crowd started chanting, and Luke walked out towards the buses, and the crowd was like, "Oh, it's Luke Cornett," and he was like, "Thank you." You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so the dude understands kind of like stuff like that you kind of like about a guy, but maybe we can get together in a week or so and do it again. I'll try to have the technology better. Maybe I'll watch some videos and try to wrap up. So I don't want to do any long-term projections. We have plenty of time before the season starts to do that. Yeah. Knicks fans, I'm sorry about us lacking interactions. We definitely want to be able to answer your questions and be able to be live where we can exchange or grow the conversation. The whole thing about this thread or not just thread, but this video and all the videos that I'll post is not about just talking Knicks 24/7. It's about, the conversation evolving, because there are plenty of sources, plenty of places where you can go to and watch Knicks stuff, you know what I'm saying, and get Knicks feedback and voice your opinion and all that stuff. And I understand that. So I'm not trying to be a giant, and I don't think Nick G is trying to be a giant either. At this point, we're just trying to do what we love. We have a passion for it, and we know a lot of y'all have a passion for it too. So we're gonna try to grow this thing. Try to grow it, have it be organic. Chop it up with common sense conversation. We're not too big for y'all, so don't ever think that. So I have a job and a family, but beyond that stuff, I'm a lifelong Knicks fan since like '77. So, but anyways, that's me. Nick, you want to say something before we sign off?
No, man. Just be patient. From the time we signed Fizdale, my whole goal was have a 5-year coach.
Right.
Because we've gotten rid of a lot of coaches. The next thing was have a 5-year plan. The whole Kevin Durant thing it's not even really a setback because this guy wasn't even going to play this year. Technically, it's like having Kristaps Porzingis all hurt all over again.
Right. It's not a setback because we never had him. He never played Now, if he played for us and then signed with another team in free agency, it'd have been a setback. But he never wore a Knicks jersey, so you can't miss what you never had. So
exactly.
So a lot of Knicks fans will say, "Oh, but I wanted KD." Listen, hey man, I played the lottery the other day and I want to win. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it is what it is.
I wanted GI Joes growing up, couldn't afford.
Hey man,
it's all good, but just patience. Just take your time. Just watch the team and enjoy the team. Because even with that too, it's fun to watch guys grow and become better. Me watching Kevin Knox, man, I'm telling you, this kid improved a lot in 3 months.
Right.
Without being on the court. Being on the court, but not actual live games.
Right.
And he's still got 3 more months to go. So you could imagine the kind of steady growth. And RJ is the same thing.
Right.
Hardworking guy. He's gonna be in the lab with Steve Nash. This kid could truly end up being special. So who's to say? Just be patient. It's nothing to rush.
Let me ask you this though. Let me ask you this along that just be patient vein, right? I asked this on Twitter the other day, and Twitter almost broke. So if you could have for 1 year, if you could go 74-8, set the NBA single season wins record, go 16-0 in the playoffs, and win a championship, and then from then on, it'll be 30 years of the same thing that you went through now. Would you rather do that or build a team slowly with the possibility of winning a chip that's not guaranteed in 5 years, and then in 5 years you realize it didn't work and then have to rebuild all over again? Which one would you prefer? Now, granted, at the end of 5 years, you may have built a dynasty and you may win 3, 4, 5 championships if it's done right, but you wouldn't know until the end of the rebuild. So would you rather take that route and then have to rebuild again, or would you rather go 74-8, perfect in the playoffs, and win one chip, knowing you got 30 years of struggling again?
Sounds like I'm making a deal with the devil.
If you win a championship with the greatest record ever, you're going to be considered the greatest team ever.
This is very unrealistic, but
I know.
I would choose the.
But you're a Knicks fan. How you gonna say unrealistic and you're a Knicks fan?
No, but I've always been a realistic fan. I'm not a fan per se. I'm a Knicks fan, but at the same time, I've always been a Kobe fan, a Jordan fan. I'm more of a fan of the players.
Right.
Then I became even more of a Knicks fan. I was like a low-key fan at first.
Right.
But then I became a real fan of the Knicks when Carmelo signed.
Right.
So I'm a fan, yeah, but at the same time I'm always realistic about I don't put my heart into the team. So that's why I don't get heartbroken.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Each loss last year wasn't heartbreaking to me.
Right.
it was heartbreaking to see how guys were getting raked through the dirt by the media because
like Frank Ntilikina.
Kevin Knox was a rookie and
Right.
Frank Ntilikina in his second year. You know, anyway. For me, I would choose the third year, then the third-year drought. Yes, but I do see the equally. I would choose the other route. You know what? I will actually choose build a team over 5 years. To be honest,
right?
Because I love to watch guys develop.
Right.
I love watching guys come from nothing into something, and the undrafted second-round picks, and those guys who were left out and then became something. Like Mitch is a lovely story for me. My heart goes out to the kid.
Right.
Would have loved to see him next to Porzingis.
Right.
And likewise, I would love to just see Kevin Knox, who's been put out, like being put down so much by the media and people on Twitter, just become the 20-point scorer per night. I think he will become 20 and 5 a night scorer.
So 20 and 5, is he Rudy Gay 20 and 5, or is he Klay Thompson 20 and 5?
I don't think he 20 and 5
meaning the model of
game.
consistency or wild scoring things.
No. God. Okay, so from the standpoint of, I think he will be an efficient scorer. If anything with Summer League that I could take away is the kid has been efficient.
All right.
Going forward, I think he will shoot well from three. His form is good. His ability to shoot off screens and movement is good. And then he's getting better at shooting off the dribble.
Right.
Closer to Paul George, where he's better as a number 2 or maybe a number 3. He's complementary and doesn't interfere with anything else everyone else is doing.
Right.
He is, to me, the way this team is built just like Duke, to be honest. Julius Randle is Zion.
Right.
RJ is RJ. Kevin Knox is
Cam Reddish. Right. The point guard is unsettled.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, well, you had Trey Jones, and you could compare. Is it Trey Jones?
Right.
And you could compare him to Alfred Payton, just a steady point guard.
Right.
So, like, for me, it doesn't matter. Like, as long as guys just spread the floor, allow RJ to get to the rim, make the pass, let Alfred Payton run the show. In general, Kevin Knox come off screens, hit shots. That's it.
Okay.
It's simple.
All right. So what I'm gonna do is, hey, can you come on? Can you come on next week?
More than likely, yeah.
All right. So if you want to admit, I really like, and so just for the Knicks universe, listen, a lot of people talk Knicks, but everybody is not knowledgeable about on the court, what happens on the court and what in Knicks history. I think Nick G probably impressed y'all like he impressed me. So, I mean, I think we'll probably look to collaborate more in the future. Next week, though, next week, there's a guy on Twitter. I'm going to see if I can get him to come on. He's well, I don't want to give it away, but I want to have him be maybe the third person if we can coordinate some, and then that way you can have less Big Freezy FaceTime and more of some other guys that know the Knicks inside and out. So I'm gonna I'll probably post another video this week. Hey Nick, man, I enjoyed the time, man. I'm gonna get out of here.
Yeah, man.
You want to shout out anybody before you go?
No, man, it's just shout out to the Knicks. I mean, that's pretty much it. Shout out to everybody.
Hey.
Just hold firm.
Yeah, hey man, for sure. All right, Knicks universe, man. Hey, so I'm out of here. Nick G is out of here, man. I really enjoyed him being on. We'll probably get on sometime again in the future. But until then, peace.
Peace.
All right, Nick.